Vol 2, Chapter 342, The Boys of Tatooine, Part 1. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, on the desert planet of Tatooine, lies the port of Mos Espa. Following a devastating conflict between Ghidorah the Hutt and Jabba the Hutt, the port, which had been reduced to ruins, saw significant reconstruction over the year. Homes and buildings were erected anew, many atop the remnants of their shattered predecessors, providing shelter from the harsh elements. The reopening of moisture farms, vital for the community's survival, brought a semblance of hope as early crops began to flourish. However, the Tusken Raiders, known for their hostility towards Tatooine's settlers, loomed nearby, having established a camp in close proximity. The destruction of Mos Espa drove many of its affluent inhabitants to seek refuge in Mos Eisley, a city under Jabba's control, thus accentuating the divide between Tatooine's two largest cities. Mos Eisley, having suffered minimal damage, became a haven for the wealthy, while Mos Espa was relegated to slum status. Despite these challenges, life persisted. Amidst the debris of Mos Espa, a young boy, no more than 10, navigated the rubble with a determination that belied his age. His face, though youthful, bore the marks of maturity and perseverance. His search through the charred earth was suddenly rewarded with the discovery of several wires protruding from the ground. Upon closer inspection, he identified them as part of an integrated circuit. Excitedly, he called out, "Hey, Johnson, come and help me." Approaching was a robot of intimidating appearance, its structure reminiscent of a human skeleton, clad in silver-gray metal and augmented with additional armor plates. Despite its fearsome appearance, the robot's lower body was an odd assembly of 4 legs from a B-1 battle droid, lending it a less menacing, albeit mechanically punk-het aesthetic. Robots were commonplace, but one as uniquely terrifying as Johnson was a rarity. Johnson, upon inspecting the cables, spoke in a voice barely distinguishable from a human's. "Looks like you found something significant, Anakin." With a single pull, he unearthed what turned out to be a sizable portion of a spaceship's console, miraculously unscathed by fire. "There are salvageable parts here, and the circuit board might be repairable. There's also a terminal worth attempting to fix," Johnson observed. Anakin's eyes lit up with excitement as he examined the wreckage. "Look, this chip is still intact. This is fantastic. Now we can get C-3PO up and running. And if we fix these parts, we might even be able to trade them for that anti-gravity wheelchair at Cheruchi's. Oh, and..." His voice trailed off, his face alight with a naive yet contented smile. Johnson, wary of the envious glances from other scavengers, secured the wreckage and gently placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder. "Let's head back, Anakin. It's not wise to leave your mother waiting too long." Anakin beamed. "Mom's going to be thrilled with what we found today." As they prepared to leave, a one-armed scavenger with a menacing look approached them. "Hey, Anakin, what did you find today? Show it to me." Johnson stepped protectively in front of Anakin. "You should keep your distance." The scavenger spat defiantly, continuing to advance. "Bah! I'm not afraid of you." Johnson's response was calm yet firm, indicating a readiness to protect Anakin at all costs. The tension between them underscored the harsh realities of life on Tatooine, where survival often meant guarding one's discoveries from those who would take them by force. Amidst the desolation and danger, the bond between Anakin and Johnson shone as a beacon of loyalty and friendship. Anakin Skywalker locked gazes with the scavenger, his voice steady and earnest. "Otto, this item is crucial not just for me, but for my mother as well. And if you dare to come back, Johnson won't hesitate to confront you." The scavenger, momentarily taken aback, felt his resolve falter, his initial aggression dissipating. With a dismissive snort, he retorted, "Consider yourself lucky this time. Now, off with you." "Thank you," Anakin replied, nodding in gratitude before he and Johnson made their way to their home. They approached a dwelling that, despite being partially collapsed, had been ingeniously reconstructed using an assortment of panels and stones. Johnson moved towards the entrance, effortlessly shifting a massive stone slab that served as a makeshift door. This slab, weighing over 2 tons, was a formidable barrier against unwelcome intruders. Mom, today I found a spaceship console," Anakin exclaimed as he burst into the house, rushing to embrace a middle-aged woman seated on the bed. She caressed Anakin's hair affectionately, her eyes filled with pride. "You never cease to amaze, Anakin. You always manage to find the most valuable things. It's because I have a keen sense, Anakin boasted with a grin. We can trade this console for many useful items. That's wonderful. I'll prepare something for us to eat. You should rest for now, the woman suggested, reaching for her crutches. It was only then that the extent of her disability became apparent. Her legs were amputated at the knees. Mom, let me take care of it, Anakin insisted, rushing to support her. It's all right, dear. I've been resting all day, she reassured him with a smile. Making her way to the kitchen, she began to prepare a modest meal, combining various tubers with some powder. After dinner, why don't you sort out today's finds? And tomorrow, could you stay home with me while Johnson goes out? Of course, Mom, Anakin agreed, his voice filled with understanding. He then headed to his room, a space cluttered with mechanical parts and a basic workbench. In one corner stood a humanoid robot, its exterior casing missing, revealing the intricate components beneath. Johnson, I need your assistance, Anakin called out. The robot entered, aiding Anakin in dismantling the useful parts, repairing what was salvageable, and repurposing what could be reused. After a moment of contemplation, Anakin spoke up. Johnson, I've been thinking. Let's give these parts to Otto. His brother injured his leg yesterday, and while we might not need these parts right now, they could really help him get the medicine he needs. I concur with your decision, Anakin. I'll deliver them after dinner. Johnson responded. Great. Now, let's get this chip and circuit board installed on C-3PO. Anakin said, diving back into his work with renewed vigor. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, T-850 Terminator. Vol 2, Chapter 343, Tatooine's Boys, Part 2. Star Wars: The Fourth Scourge. In the evening, Johnson navigated the foul-smelling streets of the slum. Despite being a familiar figure to most of the local residents, his imposing metal skeleton frame ensured that people kept a respectful distance, leaving a clear path around him. Johnson was on a mission to find Otto's residence. He had memorized the map of the entire area, so the complex route through the alleyways on the other side of the street, requiring him to make several turns, posed no challenge to him. As he made his way into the alley, his auditory sensors picked up the murmurs of a nearby conversation. Have you heard? Otto was killed, one voice said. What happened? Who did he anger this time? Another inquired. It was Tokta from the north side of the city, the Nikto. Otto and Tokta were both after a damaged E5 blaster rifle. Tokta, enraged, ended up snapping Otto's neck, a third voice explained. Was Otto out of his mind? I even saw him trying to steal the scraps Anakin picked up at noon. It's no wonder he's dead. Anakin's robot, Rock Johnson, isn't someone you want to mess with, another added. You're missing the point. Otto's brother broke his leg a few days ago. It was supposed to heal in a few months, but last night he got an infection and a high fever. The Otto family had nothing of value left to trade for medicine, someone whispered. Shh! Quiet down! Look, Johnson is here! Ignoring the chatter, Johnson continued on his path. He arrived at a dimly lit house and activated his thermal imaging sensor, detecting a human-shaped heat source inside. Pushing the door open, he entered to find Otto's younger brother lying on the bed, visibly frail, his body occasionally twitching in the throes of illness, clearly on the brink of death. Brother, is that you? Water. I need water. The young man barely whispered, his voice so faint that only Johnson's advanced sensors could pick it up. Surveying the room, Johnson's electronic eye locked onto a can of water near the wall. A quick scan revealed the water was teeming with harmful microorganisms. Drinking it would only hasten the young man's demise. Without hesitation, Johnson fetched a clean can of water from the next room and carefully helped Otto's brother drink. The young man gulped down the water eagerly, gradually regaining some strength. You're not my brother. Who are you? He asked weakly. Johnson handed him an energy transmission device. Your brother had an accident and is currently receiving treatment. He found this today. It's an intact energy transmission device, though only half of it remains, but it should suffice for your sustenance for the next week. Grasping the device tightly, Otto's brother treasured it like the most precious possession, his vision too impaired to see it clearly. Thank you so much, he said, tears streaming down his face, overwhelmed by gratitude. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave, Johnson announced, standing up to exit. As he walked away, the young man's voice, filled with thanks, echoed from the room. Johnson paused, turning his head 180 degrees to look back at the dimly lit space one last time. "Farewell," he uttered softly. Upon returning home, Anakin Skywalker was busy working on the back of a humanoid's head, soldering circuits to fit a new chip. Hearing Johnson's return, he asked without turning, "Did you deliver the item to Otto?" "The delivery was made, and he has relocated with his brother," Johnson reported. "Thank you, Johnson," Anakin said, his smile radiating innocence. "Regardless of the outcome, I'm grateful." "There's an issue with the soldering on the fourth circuit to the left. It needs to be redone," Johnson observed, pointing out the flaw in Anakin's work. "Ah, I didn't notice that," Anakin admitted, grateful for the assistance. Together, the boy and his robot stood in harmony, dedicated to repairing the robot they had painstakingly assembled from scavenged parts over the years. That night, Johnson sat atop the roof, his vigilance unwavering as he watched over the mother and son, ensuring their safety in the quiet of the desert night. Suddenly, a faint noise caught his attention. The house was filled with a soft murmur of noises when Anakin climbed up and settled next to Johnson. "You should go to bed," Johnson suggested gently. "The light from Tattoo 2 is unusually bright tonight. It's hard for me to fall asleep," Anakin replied, his gaze fixed on the dim star twinkling in the sky. "I can cover the window to block out the light for you," Johnson offered. "No, Johnson, I just want to watch." Anakin's voice trailed off as he continued to stare into the vast expanse above them. "You were asking, what's out there in space?" Johnson inquired, turning his attention to the young boy beside him. "Vacuum, darkness, cold, and the absence of gravity. Ordinary people wouldn't survive more than a few seconds out there," Johnson explained. Anakin shook his head, curiosity undimmed. "But are there any angels in the sky?" "Where did you hear that term?" Johnson asked, more to himself than expecting an answer. "The retired pilot uncle. He told me about a distant satellite named Yiguo, home to the most beautiful beings in the universe. Angels, very beautiful and kind-hearted," Anakin said, his eyes sparkling with wonder. "There are no angels in the sky. However, if you travel far enough, you'll reach other planets inhabited by people. Perhaps at this very moment, someone out there is looking back in our direction," Johnson mused. Anakin closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. "I feel like I can almost see them, but it's all so blurry." "That's just your imagination," Johnson reassured him. "I dream of piloting a spaceship one day, exploring every corner of the universe. It's unfortunate that Benny said people like us could never own a ship, let alone find someone willing to take us aboard," Anakin said, a hint of sadness in his voice. "If we manage to complete the protocol droid C-3PO today, who's to say we can't build a spaceship tomorrow? I'm certain of it," Johnson declared with confidence. Anakin's curiosity was piqued. "You weren't made on Tatooine, were you, Johnson? The stories you've told me about the 3 major cataclysms, did they really happen?" "My database is corrupted, and I've lost most of my data, including my own code. However, if I can repair the communicator within me, I might uncover some clues," Johnson said, pointing to a spot on his head. "As for the Void Demon, the Protocol of Reconciliation, and the high-dimensional invasion, the annotations in my remaining database categorize them as historical events. So, perhaps they did occur," Johnson added thoughtfully. Anakin returned his gaze to the night sky, falling silent once more. Time seemed to stand still until he eventually drifted off to sleep. Johnson carefully lifted him, descended from the roof, and placed him gently on the bed. He then sat quietly beside Anakin, watching over him throughout the night. Volume 2, Chapter 344, The Battle of Naboo, Part 1. In the galaxy far, far away, Cato Neimoidia stands as one of the oldest colonies of the Neimoidians, and it is also the closest to their homeworld, Neimoidia. For millennia, it has served as a clandestine fortress, accessible only to the most influential among them. Within Zara, the capital of Cato Neimoidia, Trade Federation Viceroy Newt Gunray and his closest advisor, Rune Hako, were engaged in a crucial secret meeting. Before them, a holographic projection displayed a figure shrouded in a black cloak, his posture slightly hunched, featuring an aquiline nose, a thin chin, and a sinister smile. This was none other than the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. "The time has come," We shall demonstrate our might on Naboo and deliver a crippling blow to the Galactic Republic, Sidious declared, his voice echoing with malevolence. Rune Hako, however, expressed his concerns timidly, but this plan seems more audacious than our previous endeavors. Launching an attack on Naboo might provoke the Galactic Republic beyond our control. Sidious responded with disdain. Foolish cowards! Have you forgotten how much I've done for you? If it weren't for my intervention in the Dovala mine dispute, you wouldn't be in your current positions of power. This is the opportune moment. Hesitate now, and you'll remain mere pawns under the Republic's rule. Still, we must consider the potential backlash from the Republic and the Jedi Order. This operation is unlike any before. You're asking us to deploy ground troops to take over Naboo, Nute Gunray pointed out, seeking clarity. Sidious, unfazed, elaborated on his strategy. I have already ensnared the Republic, Supreme Chancellor Valorum, and the Jedi Order in my web. The Battle of Marathol Fjord and the terrorist attack at the Eriadu Trade Summit have left the Judiciary Fleet unable to support Valorum, and after the losses suffered during the Injoli Uprising, the Jedi Order will hesitate to intervene. Remember, even the arrest and execution of the Master's daughter did not provoke them into action. Reassured, Gunray inquired cautiously, "So we proceed with the invasion?" "Do it. Now is the time. Naboo's new queen is but a young girl. Faced with our invasion, she will have no choice but to cower in fear. If not now, when? The moment to seize control of the trade routes in the galaxy's core is upon us." Sidious commanded, his voice booming with such force that it sent objects flying around the room, knocking Gunray and the others to the ground. "Idiot!" Sidious spat out before abruptly ending the communication. Rune Hako, helping Gunray to his feet, voiced his apprehension. "Lord Gunray, is it wise to ally ourselves with such a fearsome individual?" Gunray, brushing Hako's hand aside and standing on his own, replied through gritted teeth, "We dare not cross him. Remember, our positions of power are his doing. If he could orchestrate the downfall of the previous governor to elevate us, he could just as easily replace us. What if we avoid deploying ground troops and simply blockade the planet with our fleet?" Hako suggested timidly. "Prepare the fleet. Load the LH-3210 with droids," Gunray commanded, his resolve hardening. "Once we control Naboo, its plasma mines and the surrounding trade routes will be ours. Yes, that's the plan." With a decisive strike on the table, he activated the communicator and ordered, "All fleets proceed as planned. Depart in 24 standard hours." Meanwhile, in the central star region of the Milky Way, the unsuspecting planet of Naboo floated peacefully in outer space, unaware of the impending storm. Without warning, the serene void was pierced by the sudden appearance of a vast armada of spaceships, their arrival heralding the beginning of a conflict that would echo through the ages. Emerging from hyperspace, a fleet of colossal ships suddenly appeared in the cosmic expanse. Uniform in design, these were the ring-shaped LH-3210 large cargo ships. Each ship boasted a ring structure, measuring 3,170 meters in length and 3,009 meters in width, encircling a massive spherical hull with a diameter of 1,029 meters at its core. However, a startling transformation had occurred. Some of these cargo ships had been outfitted with an array of turrets, bristling like hedgehogs for protection. Mounted on the spherical hull was a high-power signal transmission tower, repurposed for combat operations. Out of the 60 LH-3210 cargo ships, approximately 10 had been modified into armed variants, equipped with turrets and signal towers. These armed vessels were discreetly integrated within the fleet, creating a deceptive appearance of a mere convoy of cargo ships. Upon arrival, these ships swiftly encircled the planet Naboo along its equator. From the ring-shaped hulls of the cargo ships, tens of thousands of vulture robot fighters swarmed out, resembling a vast colony of bees. The sudden onslaught left all merchant fleets entering or leaving Naboo in a state of shock, too intimidated to make a move. The sheer size of the cargo ships, combined with the menacing presence of the vulture robot fighters, conveyed an overwhelming sense of dread. No one believed they possessed the means to confront this formidable armada. Nute Gunray, the governor of the Trade Federation and commander of the flagship, made his presence known on the battlefield. He accessed the public communication channel and issued a broadcast to all nearby spacecraft. Attention all vessels traveling to and from Naboo. Due to a breach of contract by the planet Naboo and the Galactic Republic's objections to the illegal taxation within the Free Trade Zone, the planet Naboo is now under blockade by our Trade Federation. This action is a lawful protest. We urge everyone to understand the situation and depart promptly. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the LH-3210 Lucra Hulk, 3210 cargo freighter involved in the blockade of Naboo. It is important to note that, at this stage, the cargo ship has not yet been converted into a Lucra Hulk-class battleship. P.S. This chapter marks the beginning of content from the movie Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace. While the protagonist's actions have led to numerous changes, the overarching events remain largely unaltered. This chapter, in conjunction with the movie's plot, will help clarify several aspects previously mentioned in the narrative. Volume 2, Chapter 345, The Battle of Naboo, Part 2. In the heart of Naboo, the capital city known as Theed was under a state of martial law. The Minister of Defense hurried through the streets towards the palace, navigating a city braced for conflict, where soldiers were stationed at every corner, a testament to Naboo's determination to defend itself against the Trade Federation's brazen invasion. Inside the king's hall, Queen Amidala of Naboo sat upon her throne, her regal attire and elaborate makeup a stark contrast to the tension that filled the room. Her handmaiden stood by, a silent testament to the gravity of the situation. "Your Majesty, the Trade Federation refuses to withdraw or negotiate. Their demands are clear: unconditional surrender and the signing of an even more oppressive treaty," the Minister of Defense reported, his voice heavy with concern. "Arrange a communication with the Trade Federation's commander." "I will speak to him myself," Queen Amidala commanded, her voice steady despite the circumstances. The room's communicator buzzed to life, projecting the holographic images of Newt Gunray, the Viceroy of the Trade Federation, and his lieutenant, Rune Hako. "The actions of the Trade Federation are in direct violation of the laws of the Republic. Withdraw your forces immediately, or face the consequences," Queen Amidala declared, her tone firm. Newt Gunray feigned surprise. "Oh, invasion? Your Majesty, I believe you're mistaken. We are conducting legitimate business, fully compliant with the law. The Republic's constitution does not condone such barbaric acts of aggression," Amidala retorted. "Such matters are for the Republic Senate to decide, not for Naboo. Besides, this situation arose from your planet's breach of contract," Gunray countered, referring to a treaty signed by Naboo's previous king, which he argued was still in effect. That treaty, signed under duress by King Ars Varuna, lost its validity with his abdication. It violates the Republic's principles of fairness and justice. The people of Naboo will never recognize it, Amidala stated resolutely. "Then we shall see," Gunray replied coldly, ending the communication. Queen Amidala remained silent for a moment, her thoughts obscured by her ceremonial makeup. Then, with resolve, she instructed, "Report our situation to the Republic Senate immediately, and connect me with our representative, Senator Palpatine." Senator Palpatine's image appeared, his distinguished appearance marked by a high hairline and a kind yet somber smile. He bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am aware of the situation on Naboo and have already informed Speaker Fins Valoran. A formal plea for assistance from you would certainly carry weight. I expect the Republic to halt the Trade Federation's invasion, impose sanctions, and revoke their trade privileges," Amidala said, her voice cold with determination. Palpatine's expression wavered, a mix of hesitation and sorrow crossing his features. "I will do my utmost in the Senate," he assured, though his tone betrayed his concern. "Please, ensure the Republic understands the urgency. Our resources are limited, and without our trade routes we won't last long," Amidala pressed. "Of course, my queen," Palpatine replied, bowing once more before the communication ended, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Meanwhile, aboard the Trade Federation's flagship, Rune Hako gazed at the serene blue planet of Naboo, a sense of unease lingering. "Fortunately, Naboo's response has been less fierce than anticipated," he remarked, though the undercurrent of fear was palpable. "The key doesn't lie on planet Naboo, but with the Republic," Newt Gunray declared, his tone firm. "We'll stand our ground for now and wait for the Queen of planet Naboo to come to us," pleading for mercy. But Runhako hesitated, glancing around cautiously. Once he was sure they were alone, he leaned in and whispered, "Didn't our Lord command us to take control of planet Naboo?" Deploying ground troops to take control and besieging the laden into submission are two entirely different strategies, Nute Gunray retorted, his expression darkening. We must also consider our own escape routes. Sending in ground troops means we're fully committed. It would be a clear violation of Republic laws. This is indeed the best course of action, Runhako agreed, visibly relieved. Naboo doesn't have a significant military force. They won't be able to hold out for long. Nute Gunray scoffed at this, then turned his attention to the military observer from the fourth group, who was seated across from them. With a smile, he said, "This battle is inevitable. If you're not up for it, consider it a vacation." Given the current strong relationship between the Trade Federation and the fourth group, especially with the ongoing joint development of the Higla-class battlecruiser, Nute Gunray was naturally courteous to the representatives present. The fourth group's representative, Army Commander-in-Chief Xiao Guanghua, was well aware that the conflict on planet Naboo would primarily involve ground combat. Space battles were expected to be minimal and not particularly instructive. Xiao Guanghua nodded calmly, responding politely, "We too aim to learn from the Trade Federation to enhance our capabilities in all respects." Internally, however, he was seething. If not for Tang Xiao's strict instructions not to interfere with the Trade Federation's operations, he might have been tempted to confront these two for their cowardice. "You're invading, for heaven's sake, and with 60 Lucrehulk-class cargo ships loaded with an army of 6 million droids. If you don't seize this opportunity to land and capture the enemy's supreme commander, you're only inviting unforeseen complications. And yet, you're contemplating waiting for a surrender." He thought about the planet's population of 4.5 billion, with over 1 billion under the human regime alone, capable of rallying countless defenders. The notion of an easy surrender was ludicrous, and their concern over the legality of a ground invasion? Their actions were already a blatant affront to the Galactic Republic. The legality of their methods was the least of their concerns. Nevertheless, Nute Gunray accepted Xiao Guanghua's polite remarks, adding, "We're also using this battle as an opportunity to learn how to effectively deploy a robot army. As you've seen, the B-1 battle droids aren't particularly effective in large-scale operations due to their slow response times. That's why we've converted the Lucrehulk-class cargo ships into robot control ships, allowing our controllers to coordinate the droids more effectively. In simulation tests, these adjustments have significantly improved the B-1 droid's performance." He looked at Xiao Guanghua. "You're in charge of the fourth group's army unit, right? You've also ordered 10 million B-1 combat droids from us, so this battle will be a valuable learning opportunity for you." Xiao Guanghua simply nodded, choosing not to respond. "Since we're all here with nothing immediate to do, I've brought some Shula fruit wine, a specialty from planet Naboo. Let's toast to our future victory and the occupation of Naboo," Runhako interjected, lightening the mood with a laugh. Vol 2, Chapter 346, Battle of Naboo 3. Star Wars, The Fourth Scourge, Chapter 346, The Battle of Naboo 3. As Runhako was celebrating what they believed to be an imminent victory with Nute Gunray and Xiao Guanghua aboard the flagship of their fleet, the news of the Trade Federation's blockade of the planet Naboo sent shockwaves through the political landscape of Coruscant. Although this was not the first time an armed conflict had challenged the democratic principles of the Republic, the blockade of Naboo by the Trade Federation was particularly alarming. The deployment of 60 Lucrehulk-class cargo ships, each with a diameter exceeding 3,000 meters, posed a significant threat. These colossal vessels, even unarmed, could carry a formidable cargo, and the addition of a few turrets could easily transform them into warships. However, what truly escalated the situation into a political crisis was the Trade Federation's demands. Officially, they cited Naboo's alleged default as a reason for the blockade, but it was clear to all that the true motive was a protest against the Galactic Republic's decision to impose taxes on the Outer Rim territories. This bold move was not just a protest, but an open challenge to the Galactic Republic, marking a significant escalation in the conflict. Senator Palpatine of Naboo, deeply concerned about the situation, sought an audience with Finis Valorum, the Speaker of the Galactic Republic. "I'm sorry for the current predicament, Senator Palpatine. However, I'm afraid this issue must be deliberated in the Senate before any action can be taken," Valorum expressed, his tone reflecting a sense of helplessness. His influence had waned significantly due to a series of political setbacks, diminishing support from the Republic's judicial fleet, and strained relations with the Jedi Order. Effectively, his authority as Speaker was in name only. "I understand the complexity of the situation, but I implore you to at least facilitate a dialogue with Lot Dodd, the Trade Federation's representative in the Galactic Council. My previous attempts to engage with him have been rebuffed," Palpatine pleaded. Valorum agreed to reach out to Lot Dodd. However, the Neimoidian's response was dismissive, insisting that any discussions be directed to the Senate before abruptly ending the communication. Valorum, feeling the weight of the crisis, sighed deeply, his exhaustion palpable. The Trade Federation views the taxation of the Outer Rim as an infringement on their autonomy, and now their blockade of Naboo is a direct challenge. "Seeing you here, Senator Palpatine, my only ally in these trying times, I can only offer my apologies." Palpatine, his expression somber, responded, "The influence of the Trade Federation has grown, bolstered by alliances with the Interstellar Banking Clan, the Corporate Alliance, the Techno-Union, and others. Their power is formidable, but we must not lose hope. If we falter, what hope remains for the galaxy?" Valorum, lifted by Palpatine's resolve, replied, "I trust you, my friend. Our shared commitment to the Republic's revival is unwavering. Together, we will face this challenge." Their conversation underscored the gravity of the situation on Naboo and the broader political implications for the Galactic Republic. As the blockade continued, the stage was set for a conflict that would test the resilience and unity of the Republic and its principles. "Continuing to fight for this cause, even if there comes a day when I can no longer bear the burden, I remain hopeful. Now, with you in Parliament, I am convinced that the light of hope for the Republic will never be extinguished," Phineas Valorum declared with a determination that belied his frailty. He stood up, using the last of his strength, his voice resonant and compelling. "Let's go, my friend. As we have before, let's overcome this adversity together." The following day, the Galactic Republic Congress convened an emergency session to address the Trade Federation's blockade of the planet Naboo. However, the meeting ended in a stalemate. The Trade Federation's representative, Lot Dodd, maintained that their blockade was a legitimate response to Naboo's default and the Republic's unilateral decision to impose taxes in the free trade zone without formal approval. The session devolved into a cacophony of arguments between representatives of major corporations and planetary delegates, reaching no consensus. By the third day, the pattern of meetings filled with disputes continued, and by the fourth, it was much the same. On the fifth day, tensions escalated to a near-violent confrontation in Parliament. Senator Fang Zar, incensed, maneuvered his anti-gravity platform directly towards Lot Dodd's, leaping across in an attempt to physically assault him. He was mere centimeters away from landing a punch on Dodd's face before guards restrained the irate senator. On the sixth day, in an effort to defuse the situation, Valorum announced a one-day adjournment, utilizing one of the few powers he retained as Speaker. Meanwhile, in orbit around Naboo, Rune Hako served Newt Gunray and Xiao Guanghua each a half glass of the last bottle of Shula fruit wine from his collection of 15. Gunray, frustrated, slammed his fist on the table, exclaiming, "Can't the Queen of Naboo see the situation for what it is? She should have surrendered by now." Hako, in a hushed tone, speculated, "Perhaps it's because she's too young to understand fear." Gunray, incensed, declared it was time to take decisive action, instructing Dalte Dauphine, another Trade Federation executive, to capture Queen Naboo using a stealth approach. "Send a robot assault team to infiltrate the Naboo palace quietly and kidnap the Queen," he ordered, emphasizing the need for discretion. That night, an assault team comprising 10 B-2 super battle droids and 50 B-1 battle droids approached the Naboo palace under the cover of darkness. The commander, identifiable by the yellow paint on his head, instructed, "From this point, reduce the output of the foot engines to 50%, and lower the volume of the sound systems to 10% to avoid detection. As they neared the palace, encountering 2 guards, the commander ordered, "Eliminate them quietly to avoid alerting others." However, the execution of this command was anything but discreet. A B-1 battle droid fired a barrage from its E-5 blaster rifle, the red energy beams lighting up the night sky. The resulting explosion from a nearby patrol car was anything but quiet, instantly killing 1 guard while the other, injured but alive, let out a piercing scream. "Whoa! I'm hurt!" The cry echoed through the corridors as the harsh siren blared throughout the entire Naboo palace, creating a sense of urgency and chaos. Volume 2, Chapter 347, The Dead Lord, Part 1. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, within the Aurora star region of the Buck-Rosen galaxy, lies the planet Baldemnik. This world, modest in size with a diameter of approximately 9,000 kilometers, is dominated by vast oceans covering over 90% of its surface, dotted with countless small islands and a singular main continent. The planet's south pole is engulfed by an endless sea, while its north pole is capped with a sprawling ice sheet. In the clear sky above, a disturbance twisted through the air, swiftly descending onto a deserted island. As it touched down, the dust below was whisked away as if by an invisible force, revealing the imposing silhouette of a spacecraft as it landed. Moments later, the air twisted once more, unveiling the black visage of the Sith infiltrator, Scimitar. Tang Xiao, having set the spacecraft to remote control mode, descended through the hatch. The spacecraft then seamlessly transitioned back into its invisible state, vanishing without a trace. Activating his communicator, Tang Xiao was greeted by the holographic projection of Munter, a villager. "I've reached Baldemnik, but the coordinates you provided are incorrect. This island is deserted," Tang Xiao reported. Munter, scratching his unkempt hair, replied, "The location you're looking for is now a heavily fortified mining operation run by the Damask Holdings Group. The mining activities here are relentless, a clear indication of their high priority. Which means my presence must remain undetected by the Damask Holdings Group, or more specifically, by Black G," Tang Xiao concluded. "Fortunately, during my last visit, I brought along a deep-sea terrain echometer crafted by the Mon Calamari, a species well-versed in aquatic life. With it, I discovered a complex, labyrinthine underground mine that had collapsed, sealing all passages to the surface," Munter explained. "Is there a way to enter from this deserted island?" Tang Xiao inquired. "Yes, there's an underground cavity within the coordinate area. At its end, you'll find yourself merely 13 meters from the top of the collapsed mine. That's as far as I can guide you. Given the heavy security on this planet, proceed with caution," Munter advised. "And the Injorus? What are your plans moving forward?" Tang Xiao asked. "I've made extensive preparations to explore the unknown regions of space. It's likely I won't return for quite some time," Munter said, smiling. "So, if you have any errands for me, now's the time to ask. Upon your return, I'll reward you with an extraordinary spaceship," Tang Xiao promised with a grin. "The one you're piloting is already impressive," Munter remarked. "To pilot my ship, one must match my level of skill." Tang Xiao joked. "At your age, still measuring people by good or bad?" Munter teased. "Good luck," Tang Xiao said, his smile genuine. "Good luck to you too," Munter replied, ending the communication. Tang Xiao pocketed the communicator, his smile lingering. "It's surprising to see someone like you smile so warmly," a cold voice commented from behind. Tang Xiao turned, responding lightly. "There are countless individuals connected to me, but Munter is an exception. Our relationship is simple. I awakened him, he assisted me, and we're even. What remains is purely friendship." "That's why I believe there's still light within your heart," Idra Caddis remarked, standing casually with one hand on her hip. Dressed in a light gray coat and black leather tights, her outfit, designed for ease of movement and combat, subtly accentuated her youthful allure. A small opening in her chest revealed the white kyber crystals embedded within, and she carried a large bag on her back. Darth Marthel responded icily, "I await the day you bring this topic up with me again." Idra's body stiffened imperceptibly, her lower lip caught between her teeth as she fell silent. Entering the cave first, she activated a blue lightsaber to light up the dark surroundings and proceeded towards the depths. Her original Lig, Hate's saber, had been destroyed by Darth Maul, and the one she now wielded was a gift from Malthael. Interestingly, it was the very lightsaber that Darth Plagueis had once given to Malthael, intended as a means to conceal his presence from others. "You, Master, what exactly are we searching for?" Adra found the title of Master unfamiliar on her tongue, but she had little choice in the matter. Over the past few days, Darth Malthael had enforced a harsh punishment to break her of her old habits, compelling her to adopt the term Master. "We're here to find someone," Malthael replied, his tone light. "Who could possibly live in such a place?" Adra frowned, her concern evident. "The air itself is toxic." She retrieved 2 sets of simple respirators from her backpack, tossing one to Malthael and securing the other for herself. "A dead man," Malthael stated, his gaze fixed on the depths of the cave. He pointed towards a specific spot. "There, use your lightsaber to dig." "Did you bring me all this way just to dig through dirt?" Adra couldn't hide her irritation. "Dig a hole, or I'd be more than willing to extract your soul and tear it apart." Malthael's calmness belied the threat in his words. "You resort to inflicting physical and soul pain because you're afraid. You keep reminding yourself that you're a villain. But actually—" "Ah!" Idra's accusation was cut short as she suddenly found herself seized by Malthael, her body on one side and her soul seemingly on the other. The agony of her soul being torn elicited a scream of misery from her, but Malthael's torture was brief, and he soon restored her soul to its place. No longer daring to defy him, Idra rose from the ground and silently used her lightsaber to melt a large hole through the hard rock floor. Under Malthael's direction, a laser excavator was set up in the cave. This piece of mining equipment, commonly used by interstellar miners, had been brought from the United Mining Group. 3 powerful lasers quickly penetrated the rock formation, and with a loud crash, countless rocks fell away, revealing a vertical shaft. Malthael dropped a flare down the shaft to gauge its depth before jumping down without hesitation. Adra Caddis followed suit, but her expression shifted dramatically upon landing. "This is such a potent dark side force, and it's completely contained with no leakage whatsoever. The person you're seeking." "Yes, a powerful Sith Lord," Malthael confirmed. "But you said we were looking for a dead man." "A Sith Lord, of course, would meet death eventually," Malthael explained, drawing his red lightsaber and cautiously advancing into the depths of the mine. Their journey into the darkness was fraught with tension, the air thick with the palpable presence of the dark side. Each step took them deeper into the heart of a mystery that seemed as ancient as the Force itself. Vol 2, Chapter 348, The Dead Lord, Part 2. In the depths of this secluded mine, a formidable dark side force thrived, growing stronger with each collapse. This phenomenon pointed to only one possibility: a potent source of dark side energy was present. Adra Caddis, overwhelmed by the intensity, clenched her teeth, barely daring to breathe. Her hand, gripping the lightsaber, trembled uncontrollably. Could it be? A Sith Lord is buried here? How immense must their power be to amass such a formidable dark side force? Darth Tenebris wasn't the most powerful by conventional standards, but in terms of cunning, he'd rank among the greatest Sith Lords in history, Das Masael explained. Of course, when I say not that powerful, I'm comparing him to the legendary Sith Lords. Against him, you'd be as insignificant as an ant. "I've never even heard of this name before," Idra admitted, her voice deep with concern. "That's because our worlds are entirely different. Of course you wouldn't know," Malthael responded. "You're aware my Sith name is Darth Mazael, and my master is Darth Plagueis. Darth Tenebris was Plagueis' master." "Without meeting you, these names would have remained unknown to me," Adra said. Surveying the vast mine, Malthael noted its enormity. Even with the Force, its end remained elusive. The mine's labyrinthine passages, filled with countless branches and dead ends, could easily disorient anyone. Poisonous gases filled the air, leaving no life in their wake. Murmurs, whispers, cries, howls, and screams echoed in the darkness, growing clearer and more insistent, luring unwary souls into trap-laden dead ends. Here and there, the bones of unfortunate miners lay scattered. Noticing Edra's dazed expression, Malthael sneered. "You keep urging me to return to the light, yet you fail to grasp the nature of the darkness you face. Look around, feel the potent dark side force. This power will eventually be mine." "You underestimate the light of the Force," Idra retorted, her grip on her lightsaber tightening. Malthael was taken aback by her resilience against the dark side force, silently acknowledging the former Jedi apprentice's talent. Despite the maze-like surroundings, Darth Malthael navigated with ease. As a dark side force user, he felt at home in this environment, sensing the source's location with clarity. Instead of delving deeper, they followed a long path in one direction, eventually arriving at a large, collapsed mine shaft near the mining site. The distant sound of mechanical excavators hinted at ongoing operations outside. However, upon reaching this point, Adela Cadiz hesitated, fear evident in her eyes. "I sense that moving forward could endanger my life." "If you're prepared to sacrifice yourself for righteousness, why hesitate now? Understand that taking this step brings me closer to true darkness," Malthael coldly remarked. "That doesn't mean I should recklessly throw my life away," she countered. Ignoring her, Malthael advanced, stepping under the collapsed boulders. There, a massive rock pinned down a corpse. The body, small in stature, with a large head and a breathing device covering its face, belonged to a Besian. The rock had almost completely crushed it, rendering the lower body invisible and the upper body severely compressed. A sharp stone tip had pierced the corpse's lungs, likely the direct cause of its agonizing death. In a setting that seemed untouched by time, with the surrounding environment appearing decades old and the nearby ore bearing only faint traces of blood, there was a corpse that remained eerily preserved, showing no signs of drying or decay. "Darth Tenebris, I know you're here. Come out and face me," Darth Malthael shouted into the silence. A chilling wind swept through the area, carrying with it the sound of wailing, as if the very air mourned. On the other side, Adra had closed her eyes, entering a state of meditation. This was her shield against the corrupting influence of the dark side. Malthael ignited his red lightsaber, its blade humming with war, the power of death itself. He pointed it towards the shadows, his voice booming. "I, the Master of Death, Darth Malthael, will open the door between life and death for you. Let your will glimpse the realm of the living." From the darkness, a voice emerged, growing clearer yet remaining hoarse and unpleasant. It cursed Darth Plagueis, calling him a fool, useless, and ignorant. Interestingly, the voice focused solely on Plagueis' stupidity, not on the fact that he had been killed. After a lengthy tirade, the voice paused, realizing its mistake. It then turned its attention towards Malthael, letting out a roar before charging at him. Malthael's expression turned grim. With a swift motion, his lightsaber sliced through the shadow, cutting a large swath through it. "Idra, come and help me with this," he called. Idra, who had been struggling to resist the overwhelming dark side energy, stood up, her determination evident. She drew her blue lightsaber and rushed to Malthael's side. The dark energy surrounding the shadow was tumultuous, like a tsunami of malevolence. Malthael and Idra stood against it, their minds barely holding steady against the onslaught, their only protection their own resolve. But Malthael refused to be intimidated by what was essentially an undead adversary. His face twisted into a snarl, and the red lightsaber in his hand seemed to scream in anticipation. The spirits of Sith warriors he had absorbed in the ruins of the Sith Empire on planet Sojourn transformed into vengeful spirits, attacking the shadow with ferocity. Malthael launched a relentless assault on the shadow. To his astonishment, his attacks, fueled by the power of death, significantly weakened the shadow. Each strike absorbed into his being, fortifying him. Adra, however, found herself at a disadvantage. The shadow's attacks were relentless, and the light side energy within her felt as if it could be extinguished at any moment. She knew, though, that if Malthael fell, she would too. Desperation lent her strength, and she persevered. In a pivotal moment, Malthael summoned a spirit far more powerful than any other from his lightsaber, directing it towards the shadow. "Darth Tenebris, why not face your failure? Come and witness your apprentice's fate. I'll reunite you with your apprentice," he taunted. This formidable spirit was none other than S. Venomous, another apprentice of Darth Tenebris, and one Malthael had absorbed from Darth Plagueis' underground altar on Ebola Island. The spirit, starved for decades, attacked the shadow with a hunger. Darth Tenebris, revealed to be the shadow, let out a pained howl. "No! Who are you? Tell me, who are you?" Vol 2, Chapter 349, The Ultimate Way, 1 Sith. In the midst of the battle, Darth Malthel relentlessly pursued his opponent, unfazed by the chaos around him. Darth Tenebris, on the other hand, found himself losing the will to fight. He sensed a peculiar restraint on his abilities emanating from Malthel. Despite being significantly stronger, Tenebris realized that continuing the fight would only lead to the gradual erosion of his power. The prospect of dissipating into nothingness loomed over him. "Stop, asshole! Stop!" Darth Tenebris shouted, desperately dodging Malthael's relentless attacks. Finally, sensing an opportunity for dialogue, Darth Malthael hesitated, but not before delivering a few more forceful slashes at the shadowy figure. He then paused, staring at the dark form before him with a sneer, choosing to remain silent. Behind him, the sound of Adrakatis collapsing to the ground broke the tension. She had pushed herself beyond her limits, fighting valiantly in an environment saturated with the dark side. Malthel turned his attention back to the shadowy figure, Darth Tenebris, whose soul had no fixed form after decades, merely existing as a shadow. "I'm Darth Malthel, the apprentice of Darth Plagueis," he stated calmly. "You are Plagueis' apprentice?" Darth Tenebris roared in fury. "You killed Plagueis. You ruined my plan. It was you. Although I would have relished the opportunity, I am not the one who killed Plagueis, nor am I about to," Malthael corrected him. "He still has an apprentice." "There must be a mistake. I have foreseen Plagueis' future. He should only have one apprentice." Tenebris exclaimed, surprised and confused. "The future is not set in stone. It is filled with uncertainties. The future you foresaw may not come to pass," Malthael explained. "But you are correct about Plagueis. He is indeed on the brink of death." "Who is this other apprentice?" Tenebris demanded. "His name is Darth Sidious, Plagueis' first apprentice. According to my visions of the future, Sidious will be the one to kill Plagueis in about a month," Malthael revealed. "And what concern is that of mine?" Tenebris asked coldly, his initial rage subsiding as the conversation progressed. "You sought to use Plagueis to create the most powerful and perfect force-sensitive being, intending to take over his body and his work. Aware that Plagueis would eventually kill you, you allowed it to happen, planning to infect him with a retrovirus you developed. You hoped to claim his achievements and become the prophesied chosen one," Malthael said, his tone icy. Tenebris remained silent for a long moment before responding. "It seems you know much. If this is the insight you've gained from the Force, then your talent is indeed boundless. What does it matter to you? Your plans were doomed from the start. You didn't foresee Plagueis being killed by his own apprentice before finding the chosen one. All your calculations were for naught," Malthael continued, his voice cold. "You are nothing but a failure, a cripple. You underestimated Plagueis, believing him to be weak and fearful, thinking you could manipulate him with the fear you instilled. But he was aware of his impending doom. His fear stemmed from his foresight, not your manipulation." Malthael sneered. "Have you ever considered that it was your misguided influence and your stripping him of his fate that led to his early demise? In essence, you orchestrated your own downfall." Darth Tenebris roared loudly, unable to accept the truth laid bare before him. "Traitor! Are you attempting to deceive me? You've actually killed Plagueis." "Plagueis is alive and well," Malthael raised his voice, his tone firm yet revealing a hint of frustration. "However, he's of no use to either of us. Think about it. The only person capable of leading you out of this darkness, out of this hell, is me. No one else can communicate with you as I do. You have no choice but to ally with me, to join forces, and together we will eliminate Plagueis. If, as you claim, Plagueis as an apprentice named Darth Sidious, and he is the one who murdered Plagueis, then why seek me out? Why come to me for what you desire?" "It's merely a precaution," Malthael explained. "I must ensure Plagueis' demise is absolute. If your intent is to kill, why involve me? Furthermore, you've brought a Jedi Knight along. That woman is merely a potential apprentice of mine. However, I acknowledge that my current level of mastery is insufficient, so for now, I am merely toying with her," Malthael sneered, his disdain palpable. "As for you, I envision you continuing to instruct me after Sire's demise." "Instruct you?" "Yes, to teach me the ways of the Force, to instruct me in the creation of life, to show me how to harness the power of the midi-chlorians." "Ha! And why, pray tell, would I agree to teach you? Darth Tenebris erupted into a wild, mocking laughter. Because of my strength, my innate talent. Malthael raised his hand, summoning a force of death, a tangible demonstration of his power. You should recognize my strength, the force of death. I am the only one who can offer you the possibility of resurrection. Neither Plagueis nor Sidious can achieve this. I aim to reign over this galaxy, to achieve immortality, and you are the only one who can assist me in this endeavor. This is the ambition befitting a Sith, yet all this serves your interests. What of mine? I assure you, once I master the power to revive you, I will do so at the earliest opportunity. As for what follows, that will be your decision to make. The rule of two, as established by Darth Bane, is obsolete. The ultimate aspiration of the Sith should be the emergence of a singular Sith. Indeed, only one Sith should reign supreme over the galaxy, transcending the universe, achieving immortality, and standing invincible among the stars. At that point, the Sith will have no need for a second. Malthael grinned, his gaze locked on Tenebris. So, will it be you or me? Don't you wish to find out? Volume 2, Chapter 350, The Battle of Naboo, 4. A month has elapsed since the Trade Federation initiated its blockade of the planet Naboo. This period has been marked by an unsettling calm across the galaxy, with almost all involved parties engaged in continuous deliberations. Despite numerous meetings, the royal family of Naboo found themselves powerless against the formidable might of the Trade Federation. The deployment of merely 60 cargo ships, each carrying tens of thousands of Vulture droid fighters, posed a threat capable of decimating any star fleet. The Galactic Council, too, was embroiled in endless discussions. However, under the subtle manipulation of Palpatine, the focus shifted from debating the withdrawal of the Trade Federation to questioning the legality of its invasion. Speaker Finis Valorum was aware of this shift. In discussions with Palpatine, the latter expressed his concern, suggesting that challenging the Trade Federation's actions directly was impractical given the current political climate. The only feasible strategy was to legally undermine the Trade Federation, thereby swaying the opinions of the centrist members of the Council. Valorum understood the complexity of the situation. The taxation policies in the Outer Rim territories and recent disputes had marginalized these regions, making it unlikely for their representatives to support the Republic. A prime example was the faction led by Senator Aun Frita. Left with no other allies, Valorum reluctantly agreed to Palpatine's plan. Meanwhile, the blockade fleet of the Trade Federation, led by Newt Gunley and his associates, indulged in daily celebrations, a stark contrast to the dire situation on Naboo. Xiao Guangua, having lost all hope, joined these revelries, numbing his despair with alcohol. If not for the remaining semblance of law within the military, he might have succumbed to even more debauchery. For the planet Naboo, the blockade was catastrophic. With a population of 4.5 billion, including about 1.7 billion humans and the rest Gungans, Naboo was a planet with relatively primitive technology and civilization before its incorporation into the Galactic Republic. The advent of trade had allowed it to support its burgeoning population, especially after the discovery of abundant plasma ore, which became a major source of revenue alongside foreign trade. However, the blockade had pushed Naboo to its limits. The planet, heavily reliant on trade and the mining of plasma ore, found its reserves depleted after a month. Although better off than Malastare, which succumbed after just 3 days, Naboo too began to face famine. The concept of rationing, a foreign idea to a planet that had known peace for millennia, was not implemented in time. The capital city of Sid was eerily quiet. Its streets, once bustling with activity, were now deserted. Central Avenue, known for its vibrancy, lay empty, with litter blowing through its silent expanse. The blockade had not only starved Naboo of resources, but had also drained the life from its cities, leaving its inhabitants to face an uncertain future. Litter danced in the wind, unattended and ignored. This was the state of affairs in the capital of Naboo, and the situation in other cities was even more dire, with some areas on the brink of starvation. There has been no response from the Republic. I must take action, declared Queen Amidala, the young ruler of Naboo, who was only 14 years old. Her voice was firm and decisive as she stood in the grandeur of the King's Hall. I will travel to Coruscant myself and meet with Speaker Phineas Valorum. I will urge him to dismantle the Trade Federation's blockade. The executive governor, Theo Bible, was quick to interject, his concern evident. Your Majesty, it's too dangerous at this moment. The Trade Federation's fleet is orbiting Naboo. Attempting to leave the planet now would result in either being shot down or captured. There's no alternative. We should be rallying an army to confront the Trade Federation head-on. Security Commander Quas Panaka argued passionately, his fists clenched in determination. An army against the Trade Federation? That would be futile. It would only provoke them further and lead to harsher treatment of our people, Bible countered, his voice laden with worry. We cannot simply do nothing, Queen Amidala insisted, her resolve unwavering. With all due respect, Your Majesty, until the Republic steps in, our options are severely limited, Bible sighed, the weight of the situation heavy upon him. After a long, contemplative silence, Queen Amidala rose and retreated to her bedroom, her mind racing with thoughts of her beleaguered planet. In the Galactic Parliament building on Coruscant, within the office of Speaker Phineas Valorum, frustration boiled over. It's been a month of endless quarreling in the Council, and we're no closer to a resolution, Valorum exclaimed, slamming his fist onto the desk, a rare display of anger for him, especially in the presence of others. The deadlock in the Council, driven by corruption and short-sightedness, left him feeling both desperate and enraged. Many of the councillors have been swayed by the Trade Federation, particularly those from the Outer Rim sectors. They're blinded by immediate gains, ignoring the long-term consequences. The Outer Rim is practically under the Trade Federation's thumb, and their influence has stalled any progress on passing crucial legislation, explained Naboo's planetary counselor, Schiff Palpatine, his demeanor respectful, yet hinting at an underlying cunning. In light of this, I propose we sidestep the debate on intervening in the blockade. Let's first vote on the legality of the Trade Federation's actions. This approach might be less provocative to the Outer Rim counselors. Once we establish the illegality of their blockade, moving forward will be much simpler, Palpatine suggested, a sly smile flickering across his face, unnoticed. Valorum, deep in thought, gestured for Palpatine to leave. I need time to consider this. Please, make haste, Your Excellency. The people of my planet are suffering, Palpatine said before bowing out of the office. Left alone, Valorum pondered the situation before finally making a decision. He initiated a communication link. Master Windu, I require your assistance. Vol 2, Chapter 351, Battle of Naboo, 5. In the midst of the escalating conflict on Naboo, a critical meeting took place via holographic projection. Master Mace Windu, a leading figure within the Jedi Order, presented his usual stern demeanor as he addressed the situation. Your Excellency Speaker, have you sought me out concerning the planet Naboo? Master Windu inquired. Phoenix Valorum, visibly burdened by the weight of his office, nodded solemnly. Indeed, Master Windu. Despite our past misunderstandings, the current crisis transcends those issues. The Trade Federation's invasion has escalated beyond my control. I earnestly hope the Jedi Order can intervene and compel their withdrawal. Master Windu, leaning back thoughtfully, interlocked his fingers. Is this request on behalf of the Republic Council, or does it stem from another source? Valorum sighed, the frustration evident in his voice. The Republic Council is paralyzed by indecision and endless bickering. Thus, I am making this plea personally. In other words, you're proposing an unauthorized action, Master Windu observed, his expression unreadable. Valorum could only offer a slight nod in acknowledgement, choosing silence over words. Understood. I will dispatch a special envoy. Given the unofficial nature of this mission, the team will be small. I have chosen Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, for this task. Their unconventional approach to the rules makes them well suited for this assignment, Master Windu said, a rare smile touching his lips. Valorum's face brightened with gratitude. Thank you, Master Windu. Your willingness to assist, despite the circumstances, is greatly appreciated. Regardless of official protocols, I recognize the gravity of the situation, Lord Valorum. However, even with Qui-Gon Jinn leading the mission, we must devise a strategic plan, Master Windu cautioned. Valorum leaned in, his voice firm. We can present them as Republic envoys to intimidate the Trade Federation into retreating. Governor Newt Gunray is known for his cowardice. A show of force should suffice to make him withdraw. Once they pull back, passing a resolution in the Senate will be significantly easier. Then it's settled, Master Windu agreed, nodding. But remember, Lord Valorum, this conversation remains between us. No one else must learn of our plan. As the narrative transitions to the events of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, a Republic console-class cruiser emerges from hyperspace, heading towards Naboo. This special envoy vessel, unarmed and adorned in red to signify the Republic's authority, represents a beacon of hope amidst the blockade. Surrounding Naboo, 60 massive Lucrehulk-class cargo ships form an impenetrable barrier, a clear sign of the Trade Federation's aggressive intentions. The cruiser's captain seeking entry hails the flagship. This is the Republic's special envoy, requesting permission to board your vessel. Governor Newt Gunray, visibly unnerved by the request, stammers his consent. The special envoy of the Republic? You are welcome aboard. Our blockade is, of course, entirely legal. Aboard the cruiser, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi exchange a glance, their silence speaking volumes. Guided into the flagship's hangar, they are greeted by an overwhelming display of military might, rows upon rows of B-1 battle droids and vulture droid fighters. This is a clear preparation for war. The Trade Federation has been gearing up for conflict from the start, Qui-Gon Jinn observed grimly. Master, I doubt the Trade Federation has the audacity to wage war, Obi-Wan countered, hopeful yet cautious. We'll soon find out when we meet their governor, Qui-Gon replied, as they prepared to face the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, Governor Gunray paced anxiously aboard his flagship, bewildered by the Republic's unexpected intervention. No, impossible. Why would the Republic send a special envoy now? That lord assured us. The Republic was caught off guard, leaving Newt Gunray and his associates at a loss for what to do next. Newt, attempting to maintain some semblance of leadership, instructed his adjutant, Rune Hako, to pressure the planet Naboo into surrendering before they received news of the impending conflict. However, Rune was skeptical, citing previous failed attempts that only emboldened Naboo's resolve. In the midst of their strategizing, they received unexpected and alarming news. 2 Jedi Knights were visiting. The mention of Jedi Knights sent a wave of panic through the room, with Newt Gunray collapsing in fear at the thought of hosting them on the bridge. Dolty Dauphin, equally terrified, suggested they stall the Jedi, but the idea of confronting them was too daunting. In a desperate move, they decided to let TC-14, a protocol robot, handle the Jedi, hoping to buy time. Meanwhile, Newt Gunray sought guidance from the sinister Darth Sidious, who was displeased with their hesitation. Sidious's appearance only intensified the fear and chaos, as Dolty Dauphin blurted out their predicament, fearing the Jedi's presence signaled the end of their blockade. Sidious, unfazed, dismissed Dauphin and reassured Newt that everything was still under control, ordering the deployment of a robot army to occupy Naboo. Despite Newt's concerns about the legality and the presence of Jedi Knights, Sidious coldly commanded him to proceed, assuring him that the Jedi's unofficial status rendered them powerless. Resolved but terrified, Newt Gunray agreed to Sidious's plan, ready to unleash his robot army. After the communication ended, Sidious, alone and contemplative, ominously reflected on the situation as a final struggle against his unseen adversary, Phoenix Valorum. Vol 2, Chapter 352, Battle of Naboo, 6. In the midst of the escalating conflict, Trade Federation Viceroy Newt Gunray finally made a decisive move. He ordered the fleet to spring into action, initiating their assault by releasing nerve gas into the lounge where Jedi Masters Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi were waiting. Following this, hundreds of B-1 battle droids were dispatched to retrieve what they presumed would be the lifeless bodies of the Jedi. Simultaneously, in the hangar platform, the Vulture droid fighters launched a surprise attack, obliterating the Republic's console-class cruiser, which was caught completely off guard. The robotic army, already on standby, swiftly mobilized. A vast number of B-1 battle droids boarded the Lucrehulk-class cargo ships, neatly organizing themselves before embarking on the MTT troop carriers. These 31-meter-long armored behemoths then made their way onto the C-9979 landing ships, ready for the invasion. Inside the flagship, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, unaffected by the nerve gas thanks to their Jedi training, wielded their lightsabers with precision, effortlessly cutting down the B-1 battle droids that stood in their way. Amidst the chaos, Xiao Guanghua, a seemingly out-of-place figure with a bottle of wine in hand, stumbled upon the scene. The sight of two Jedi Knights battling a formation of B-1 battle droids left him utterly stunned. After a brief moment of shock, he discreetly retreated, closing the door behind him as the sounds of battle continued to echo. Determined to reach the bridge, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan encountered no delay, swiftly making their way through the ship. Newt Gunray, in a panic, scrambled to deploy additional droids for reinforcement. However, it quickly became evident that the B-1 battle droids were no match for the Jedi. In a desperate move, Gunray deployed the destroyer droids, equipped with shield generators and formidable firepower, forcing the Jedi to momentarily retreat. They navigated through the ventilation ducts, evading capture before ultimately vanishing into the cargo hold. Furious, Gunray ordered an exhaustive search for the Jedi, determined to capture them at all costs. Meanwhile, Queen Amidala of Naboo confronted him via communication, declaring the end of the Trade Federation's tyranny. Gunray feigned ignorance, dismissing the Queen's accusations and insisting on the legality of their actions. Amidala, undeterred, severed the communication, leaving Gunray and his advisor, Rune Hako, in a state of alarm. As the situation on the bridge grew increasingly tense, Xiao Guanghua arrived, witnessing firsthand the aftermath of the Jedi's escape. The melted doors and the hole burned through the heavy blast-proof barrier were a testament to the Jedi's power. Gunray and Hako attempted to reassure him, claiming the Jedi had been driven away and that the destroyer droids would prevent any further intrusion. Xiao Guanghua, however, remained skeptical, questioning the effectiveness of their strategy. As the ground assault commenced, it became clear that the battle for Naboo was entering a critical phase, with the fate of the planet hanging in the balance. Seated at the command console, more than a dozen operators were diligently maneuvering the robots. Indeed, as per our strategy, our forces will simultaneously assault the 12 major cities of the Naboo planet. Their ground troops stand no chance against our onslaught, Newt Gunray declared. Given this, I plan to personally visit the battlefield. Assign me to the contingent attacking Sid City. No problem, Mr. A, military observer. However, I must caution you that the battlefield is fraught with danger. I would advise waiting until we have secured Sid City before you descend, Newt Gunray suggested. Xiao Guanghua shook his head dismissively. That's not an issue for me. I'm going down there to witness the unfolding events firsthand. A spectacular scene is about to take place. Mistaking Xiao Guanghua's anticipation for excitement about their imminent victory over planet Naboo, Newt Gunray nodded in agreement. Absolutely. A grand spectacle is indeed on the horizon. Let's activate electronic jamming and sever all communications on planet Naboo. You should have implemented that a month ago, Xiao Guanghua muttered under his breath as he made his way to the hangar. In the hangar, several enormous C-9979 landing ships were being prepared for deployment. These large-scale landing ships, characterized by their two pairs of massive wings and cargo holds, resembled terrestrial beetles in their overall design. With a length of 210 meters, a wingspan of 370 meters, and standing 150 meters tall, these ships were truly colossal. Xiao Guanghua boarded one of the C-9979 ships designated for the capital of Naboo, Sid City, and set off towards the planet along with the robot army. Surrounding him, hundreds of C-99979 transport ships simultaneously entered Naboo's atmosphere. The sight of these massive vessels descending was nothing short of awe-inspiring. Their arrival even caused a light rain to fall over several regions of Naboo, casting a somber shadow over the invasion. In Naboo's capital, Sid City, the planetary security chief, Kwas Panaka, hurried to the King's Hall, his complexion ashen. The Trade Federation's landing ships have appeared simultaneously over our 12 major cities. Kadala, Karen, Moria, Heartsecure, all are under threat of invasion. The local security forces are inquiring whether to engage in resistance. Resist? Madness! Our forces are no match for the Trade Federation, Theobibel exclaimed in dismay. Contact Senator Palpatine immediately. Queen Amidala commanded with resolve. However, their attempt to communicate with Senator Palpatine was abruptly cut short. All communications have been severed, Panaka reported. If communications are down, then it can only mean one thing: invasion. Theobible stated gravely. Queen Amidala remained silent for a moment before speaking. We must avoid any actions that could escalate into war. Inform all the cities and security forces within our reach not to resist. Allow the Trade Federation's troops to enter. To cease resistance is to surrender, Your Majesty, Panaka said, his voice heavy with concern. Fighting back will only lead to the slaughter of our people. As their queen, I am duty-bound to protect each and every one of them, Queen Amidala responded, her gaze sweeping over the officials present. The Trade Federation will undoubtedly force me to sign a treaty of surrender. Regardless of their actions towards me, I refuse to sign it. That is the stand I must take as the Queen of Naboo. They may capture me, but it will divert their attention from further aggression. She then addressed her officials. Panaka, disperse some of your elite forces and conceal them in the jungles surrounding Sid City and within certain residential areas. Bibble, assess our treasury and attempt to relocate our most valuable assets. They must not fall into the Trade Federation's hands. Understood. The officials sprang into action, executing her orders. Queen Amidala gazed out the window, where more than a dozen immense C-9979 landing ships were piercing through the clouds, descending towards Sid City. Chaptered Easter Egg, MTT Containerized Troop Carrier. In the heart of the night, under the cloak of darkness, an unusual event was unfolding. The MTT, a containerized troop carrier, stood silently in the shadows, its presence almost ethereal. This was no ordinary vehicle. It was a marvel of engineering, designed to transport magical troops across vast distances with ease and efficiency. The MTT's sleek, metallic exterior gleamed under the moonlight, its design both imposing and elegant. It was a testament to the ingenuity of those who dared to blend magic with technology, creating a vessel that could traverse the boundaries of worlds unseen. Inside the carrier, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Rows of seats were filled with an eclectic mix of individuals, each with their own unique abilities and stories. They were wizards and witches, creatures of magic, all united by a common purpose. Their mission was shrouded in secrecy, known only to a select few, but the weight of its importance was palpable in the air. At the helm of the MTT, the pilot navigated through the night with precision and grace. The controls were an intricate array of levers and buttons, each serving a specific function, from adjusting the carrier's speed to cloaking it from prying eyes. The pilot, a seasoned wizard with years of experience, maneuvered the vessel with a calm confidence, his hands moving with practiced ease. As the MTT soared through the night, it left behind a trail of shimmering light, a beacon in the darkness. The journey was long, but the carrier was equipped with everything the occupants needed: comfortable seating, ample space for personal belongings, and even a small area for refreshments and relaxation. It was a small oasis in the midst of their secretive expedition. The destination was a place of great significance, a location that held the key to their mission's success. As they drew closer, the excitement within the carrier grew. Whispers of speculation and hope filled the air, each passenger lost in their own thoughts about what awaited them. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the MTT began its descent. The landscape below was bathed in the soft glow of dawn, revealing a world untouched by time. Ancient ruins, hidden from the eyes of the ordinary, stood proudly amidst the wilderness, their secrets locked away for centuries. The carrier landed gently on the ground, the sound of its engines fading into silence. The doors opened, and the occupants stepped out into the cool morning air, their eyes wide with wonder and curiosity. They had arrived at their destination, ready to embark on the next phase of their journey. The MTT, now empty, stood quietly in the background, its mission completed. It was a silent witness to the unfolding adventure, a vessel that had bridged the gap between worlds. As the group moved forward, the carrier remained, a reminder of the extraordinary journey they had undertaken. In the world of magic and mystery, the MTT containerized troop carrier was more than just a means of transport. It was a symbol of progress, a beacon of hope for those who dared to dream. And as the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its light on the ancient ruins, the adventure was just beginning. Vol 2, Chapter 353, The Center of the Storm. In the heart of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, a storm was brewing that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. There is no doubt, my lord. Even though the appearance of the Jedi Knights was unforeseen, the situation remains firmly within our grasp. The Trade Federation's droid army has commenced its occupation of the planet Naboo. It is anticipated that within a mere 30 standard hours, Naboo will be entirely under our control, Darth Sidious reported, kneeling on one knee before Darth Plagueis with a respectful demeanor. You have performed admirably, Sidious. Following this event, the Republic's citizens will lose all faith in their government's competence and will be consumed by fear of the corporate behemoths, Darth Plagueis declared with a tone of pride. Exactly. In such times, it is imperative for someone to demonstrate their capability to rein in these corporate titans, and that someone must be you, Darth Sidious replied, his smile twisting with malice. Once Finis Valorum is removed from office, I will naturally ascend to the position of Speaker. To stabilize the situation, I will nominate you as co-speaker. Together, we will resolve the crisis on Naboo, and then nothing will stand in our way. Darth Plagueis regarded Sidious with an inscrutable gaze. His face, obscured by a metal respirator, betrayed no emotion, but his eyes flickered with a barely perceptible hint of murderous intent. Sidious, still kneeling, bowed his head further, concealing the grim determination in his expression. Now is a critical juncture. You must also expedite your preparations. With the crisis on Naboo escalating, the Jedi Order will undoubtedly be on high alert, and it is time for our forces to enter the fray, Plagueis instructed. As you command, my lord, or rather, the future co-speaker, Darth Sidious said, retreating with a smile. Shortly thereafter, Darth Plagueis initiated another communication. Marthiel, make your way to Coruscant. Something eventful may transpire. In what guise should I arrive? Inquired the voice on the other end. I desire your presence to remain a secret, including from your recent acquisition. That toy is safely concealed in a most ingenious location. Once the situation on Naboo is resolved, I believe we will acquire an even more intriguing toy, Darth Marthael replied, his smile broadening. Make haste to Coruscant and remain hidden upon your arrival. Do not seek me out. I will contact you when the time is right, Darth Plagueis instructed coldly. As you wish, Marthael responded, his smile widening further. He had been pondering an excuse to travel to Coruscant, knowing full well that an unsanctioned visit would raise Plagueis' suspicions. But now, Plagueis himself had extended the invitation, a serendipitous turn of events indeed. With a cold snort, Plagueis turned and entered a levitating car, accompanied by his most trusted medical droid, 11-4D. Inside the vehicle, he shed his black cloak, revealing the opulent attire beneath. In that moment, the menacing figure of Darth Plagueis, the Dark Lord of the Sith, was replaced by Hego Damask II, a highly esteemed business magnate. The car glided towards a private club located on the 20th floor of Coruscant, where two individuals awaited his arrival, Jedi Masters Cypher Dyas and Dooku. My apologies for the delay. I had to ensure our meeting remained undetected, Plagueis, now in the guise of Damask, explained upon arrival. Understandable. The corporate powers are more unchecked than ever. Should they discover our plans, we would all be in jeopardy, Master Dooku responded, sharing a knowing look with Damask, his eyes conveying a mix of emotions. Among the trio, it was Cypher Dyas who appeared most troubled, sitting restlessly and sighing deeply. Approaching him, Damask placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. My friend, we have reached a point of no return. The Trade Federation's actions have set events in motion that cannot be undone. Together, we must navigate this storm and emerge victorious. The Republic's actions have demonstrated its incompetence, and such inability is the root of its failures. Regardless of others' beliefs, the shadow of war looms ever closer. This time, the Trade Alliance dispatched a cargo ship, but who's to say a battleship won't be next? Cypher Dyas remained silent, his head bowed. He reached for a bottle of fine wine on the adjacent table, took a deep gulp, and said, "To build an army is to invite war. If I take this step, I'll be branded as the one who triggered the conflict." Perhaps the Republic is in dire need of such a sinner, my friend. I've been too long removed from the heart of the Jedi Order, and now, whether it's me, Black Go, or Senator Palpatine, who was notably absent today, Stepping forward would only lead to unwarranted speculation. Among us, your reputation remains untarnished. Master Dooku sighed, placing his hands on Dias's shoulders with a heavy sense of guilt. Clutching the bottle tighter, Dias responded, the glass cracking under the pressure. This goes against everything the Jedi Code stands for. With a decisive snap, the bottle shattered in his grip. I am prepared to bear this burden. What must I do? Tomorrow, Speaker of the Parliament, Finis Valorum, is hosting a political rally at the space station near Coruscant to alleviate the recent tensions concerning Naboo. Ma Su will be there, and he's a leading candidate for the next Prime Minister of Kamino. Approach him, discuss the matter, instructed Blacko, and inform him that Damask Holdings will provide full financial backing for the project. Ramasu isn't Prime Minister yet. To undertake such a monumental project, he'll need to exert every effort. Is he capable? Master Dooku inquired, playing his part in the conversation. As long as he secures this massive contract, Ramasu's victory in the election and his ascension to Prime Minister are assured, Hego confidently stated. Cypher Dias nodded, his resolve firm. I will meet with Ramasu as an emissary of the Jedi Order and commission the creation of 3 million clone troopers for the Galactic Republic on Kamino. This project must remain a secret, known to no one. With this action, there's hope for the Republic yet, Master Dooku expressed, a hint of relief in his voice. Exchanging glances, Blacko and Master Dooku concurred. Damask Holding Group is ready to support the Republic in its time of need. Vol 2, Chapter 354, Going Out of Control. In the bustling capital of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, a Sith infiltrator emerged from hyperspace, slipping through the atmosphere via a customs channel covertly provided by Black Damask II. The customs officials, their loyalty bought and paid for, barely glanced at the substantial increase in their accounts before discreetly erasing the spacecraft's entry records. Finding an inconspicuous hotel nestled on the 15th basement floor of Coruscant, Darth Marthael reclined on a sofa, his attention captured by the news streaming from the Galaxy Information Network. Today, the Supreme Speaker of the Galactic Council, Finis Valorum, hosted a political rally at the Perlamian Orbital Facility, orbiting the outer rim of Coruscant. The event saw attendance from numerous dignitaries, including several masters from the Jedi Order. This rally could potentially salvage Valorum's faltering political career. Only time will tell. It's interesting to note that the Interstellar Banking Association fully funded and sponsored this gathering. This is particularly ironic, given the recent controversies surrounding these corporate giants and their involvement with the planet Naboo. I see Master Windu and other members of the Jedi Order arriving. There's Master Adi Gallia, Master Cypher Dias, Master Koluth, and oh my, even Master Yoda is here. I'll attempt to get an interview with Master Yoda. Off-screen, you probably don't want to interview Master Yoda. Go have a drink with the photographer. Right, interviewing Master Yoda isn't on my agenda after all. I'd rather enjoy a drink with my photographer. The Republic has reached its end, at least in this aspect. Plagueis has indeed done a commendable job, Darth Marthael mused, a voice emanating from the lightsaber at his waist. You'd better ensure you remain undetected, Tenebris. Otherwise, I'll dispose of you in this lightsaber down the nearest toilet, Darth Marthael responded calmly. Do you think I still possess a sense of taste? Such a foolish notion. However, it would indeed be amusing to have the Jedi delve into this matter, the spirit of Darth Tenebris retorted, briefly pausing as if reconsidering his involvement in such trivial matters. The Sith Lord of Bane's lineage values secrecy above all, a trait I see mirrored in you. Thus, unless directly confronted, the Jedi stand no chance of discovering me. Even in life, a face-to-face conversation with Master Yoda wouldn't have betrayed my presence. Speaking of which, what's your plan for dealing with Darth Plagueis? I've already dispatched retroviruses and crude pathogens to Plagueis. While I can't kill him outright, I can certainly complicate matters for him, Darth Tenebris chuckled darkly. That's enough, Darth Marthael interjected. You should heed your own advice, young apprentice. Never underestimate a Sith Lord. If I were you, I'd spend every moment meditating and honing my abilities. Even if this plan doesn't require direct action on your part, always be prepared for unforeseen complications. Nodding in agreement, Darth Marthael crossed his legs and entered a deep state of meditation, seeking to achieve a harmonious balance between mind and body. Meanwhile, in the outer orbit of Coruscant, the Palami orbital space station buzzed with activity. The political rally, second in magnitude only to the Eliadu Business Summit from the previous year, attracted countless business magnates and high-ranking officials. Councillor Francis Underwood, from the planet Dawn, elegantly accepted a glass of fine wine from a passing waiter. After taking a sip, he turned to Claire Underwood, his companion, and remarked, "I swore I'd never find myself mingling with these people again. To blindly follow in the footsteps of a Jedi Knight, as if by a mere wave of their hand, is a grave mistake in politics." Claire, linking her arm with Francis's, replied, "But the essence of your statement lies in its latter half, doesn't it?" "You're absolutely right, Claire. As always, Francis conceded with a knowing smile. From a distance, an observer watched as Schiff Palpatine engaged in conversation with others. With a smile, he raised his glass in a toast, musing, "Who enjoys the most cake at the table? The one who divides it." Across the hall, Black Godamask II was deep in discussion with Ramasu, the dignified representative from planet Camino. Seated with the characteristic grace of his people, Ramasu lifted a glass of wine in a polite gesture to Hego before taking a sip. "Mr. Hego, with the election on planet Camino drawing near, I believe it's crucial that our previously discussed project proceeds without a hitch. Should I fail to surpass my opponent, Noam I, our partnership would face dire consequences. He would never allow the Caminoans to maintain extensive ties with the Republic, and currently, Noam I holds a significant advantage. We simply require an individual willing to fill in the blank space on the agreement to take the position of Party A. Once that's done, our collaboration can officially commence, with the first installment of 100 million credits immediately secured," Hego explained. At that moment, Jedi Master Cypher Dyas seized the opportunity presented by the Jedi Order's participation in the gathering to approach Black Godamask. Observing Ramasu, he expressed a desire for a serious discussion regarding the Clone Army project. "Everything is prepared, Master Dyas. We only await the Jedi Order's approval to initiate the project," Ramasu replied with a smile. "I'm not in a position to speak for the Jedi Order at this moment, and there are still many uncertainties," Cypher Dyas responded, shaking his head in refusal. The gravity of the situation was not lost on him. It was akin to a scenario where, in the 21st century, someone could establish a formidable army capable of threatening national security, all without any official registration, a hidden force. The dilemma was whether to sign off on such a project, knowing that if any issues arose with this army, the consequences could range from personal ruin to implicating the entire organization in treason, or even leading to catastrophic outcomes. Black Godamask let out a derisive laugh, leaning back against the sofa with a cold gaze fixed on Cypher Dyas. "This hesitance wasn't part of our initial discussions, Master Dyas. It seems all your concerns for the Republic are merely words. Because I view the Republic's welfare as paramount, I must tread carefully," Cypher Dyas retorted, frustration evident as he slammed his cup down on the table. "I'm sorry, Master Dyas. While Naboo faces imminent danger, you're here, preoccupied with weighing the pros and cons. Perhaps only when the situation becomes truly dire and uncontrollable will you understand the gravity," Hego remarked, shaking his head before rising to leave the table. Ramasu cast a meaningful glance at Master Cypher Dyas before also departing, leaving him alone with his thoughts. Unbeknownst to them, Hego's words would soon echo a grim reality. The situation on Naboo was rapidly deteriorating. Amidst the bustling political rally on the Parami orbiting space station, the Trade Federation's droid army had begun its assault on the capital of Naboo. The local security forces offered no resistance, allowing the droid army to advance unchallenged. After seizing the city of Sid, they stormed the royal palace and captured Queen Amidala. Throughout this turmoil, the presence of the two Jedi Knights was conspicuously absent. Volume 2, Chapter 355, The Battle of Naboo, Part 7. Senator Palpatine, who was attending a political rally on the Pelmi orbiting space station, found himself compelled to cut the event short and return to Coruscant. Despite his desire to remain at the rally, a series of unforeseen incidents on the planet Naboo demanded his immediate attention. He needed to oversee the situation remotely to prevent Nute Gunray and Rune Hako from exacerbating the crisis. Just the day before, after he had ordered Nute Gunray to eliminate the 2 Jedi Knights sent to mediate on Naboo, Gunray had ceased all communication regarding the matter, including the subsequent occupation of Naboo and the capture of Queen Amidala. Darth Sidious had assumed the Jedi were dead, a task he considered trivial, akin to his previous orchestration of a Jedi's assassination on the planet Injili. With Naboo under control, the next step was to coerce Queen Amidala into signing a surrender treaty, thereby legitimizing the Trade Federation's occupation in the eyes of the Galactic Senate. Nute Gunray, since you have captured Queen Amidala, she must have already signed the surrender treaty, correct? Darth Sidious inquired during a communication session. Well, that, Lord Sidious, Nute Gunray stammered, visibly terrified, unable to meet Sidious's gaze. The Queen, she has disappeared. What did you say? She disappeared? Darth Sidious was taken aback. Despite his usually composed demeanor, he struggled to contain his fury, but managed to suppress his anger, forcing himself to remain calm. Yes, when we were escorting Queen Amidala to the detention facility, the 2 Jedi Knights launched a surprise attack on our forces, rescued the Queen, and commandeered a Naboo royal starship, breaking through our blockade and escaping, Gunray explained, his head bowed in shame. The thought of such a failure was humiliating. Not only had they allowed the Queen to be rescued, but a single Naboo royal starship had also breached the blockade formed by 60 Lucree Hulk-class battleships. Gunray internally justified the failure by noting that the blockade consisted mostly of cargo ships, with only 10 equipped with turrets that had limited coverage. Additionally, their Vulture droid fighters were escorting C-9979 landing ships into Naboo's atmosphere and were not part of the blockade. However, Darth Sidious's anticipated explosive reaction did not materialize. Instead, he coldly commanded, I want you to find the Queen and bring her back to sign the treaty. The time I can buy in the Senate is limited. But we have no idea where her spaceship went. Gunray's voice trailed off. Sith! Omnipotent! Darth Sidious declared through clenched teeth. He gestured, and Darth Maul stepped forward, his presence menacing as he glared at the 2 flustered figures before him. This is Darth Maul, my apprentice. He will assist you in locating the Queen and eliminating the Jedi. The communication ended, leaving Rune Hako to stare at Nute Gunray in horror. Things are spiraling out of control. How could we not have known about a second Sith? How many are there? We should never have engaged with such a terrifying force. Enough, Gunray snapped, regaining a semblance of authority in the face of Sidious's daunting image. Our priority is to locate Queen Amidala immediately. Any delay could draw unwanted attention from the Republic Senate. He gazed out at the planet Naboo through the porthole, determination in his voice. Deploy our entire fleet. We must find the Queen at all costs. Dispatch forces to all surrounding galaxies to locate Queen Amidala. We must capture her, commanded Nute Gunray. But what of the planet Naboo? Inquired Rune Hako. The conflict on Naboo has concluded. We've seized control of the planet, eliminating the need for the blockade. Furthermore, we've stationed a formidable army of 2 million droids on Naboo, ensuring no force on the planet can oppose us. Our flagship will remain as the droid control ship, while the rest of the fleet departs. Immediately, Gunray declared with finality, adding, this move will also alleviate some of our political pressures. In the meantime, Queen Amidala and her entourage, with the aid of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, narrowly escaped capture but soon encountered another predicament. Their spaceship's engine was damaged by the Trade Federation's blockade fleet, rendering the hyperdrive inoperative. They were forced to seek repairs on the nearest planet, Tatooine. Last year, Tatooine was engulfed in conflict akin to a civil war. Venturing there now is exceedingly perilous, cautioned Panaka, the Minister of Security who had fled with Queen Amidala. However, our adversaries would least expect us to seek refuge there. Tatooine lies within Hutt space. As long as we avoid provoking the Hutts, we should encounter minimal trouble, certainly no more than we currently face, Qui-Gon Jinn reasoned. We must refrain from activating our communications until the hyperdrive is repaired, lest we be tracked. Which of Tatooine's major settlements should we aim for? Mos Eisley City or Mos Espa Port? Obi-Wan Kenobi inquired. Mos Espa. The chaos there will offer us some degree of anonymity, decided Qui-Gon Jinn. Upon landing in Mos Espa, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, accompanied by one of Queen Amidala's handmaidens, ventured into the city, hoping to find the necessary parts for their ship. The city, a blend of refugee camp, slum, and ruins, presented a daunting landscape. Navigating through the disordered alleys, Qui-Gon Jinn spotted several Kali individuals in black uniforms patrolling the area. Their presence was oppressive. They resorted to violence against the locals for the slightest dissent, who in turn would lower their heads and quickly move away at the sight of these Kali enforcers. Stay alert and avoid drawing attention from those Kali, Qui-Gon Jinn cautioned Obi-Wan, pulling him aside. Master Ki-Adi-Mundi once mentioned their involvement in the civil war on planet Celia. These Kali, protected by the Titans, are part of the Fourth Group and are allies of the Trade Federation. Planet Celia. The Fourth Group. Titan Security. Obi-Wan Kenobi murmured, hiding in the shadows and observing the menacing Kali. Unpleasant memories began to resurface. Fortunately, the Kali's reputation for brutality worked against them in Tatooine. The saying, even a mighty dragon cannot crush a local serpent, held true. The locals were not easily intimidated, allowing Qui-Gon Jinn and his companions to remain undetected. Included in the Easter egg chapter, Newt Gunray and Rune Hako during the Battle of Naboo. Vol 2, Chapter 356, The Encounter of Destiny. On the outer rim of the Milky Way, on the desert planet of Tatooine, in the port of Mos Espa, Qui-Gon Jinn, accompanied by Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Queen's handmaiden who introduced herself as Padme, and the Gungan they had rescued on Naboo, Jar Jar Binks, ventured into the bustling streets. Obi-Wan was left to guard the ship while the others explored the area. The locals cast wary and sometimes malicious glances their way, particularly at Padme, whose youth and beauty drew unwanted attention. Qui-Gon found himself frequently using the Force to subtly influence the minds of those around them, diverting their attention elsewhere. This city seems on the brink of collapse. I'd rather live in a swamp than here, Jar Jar Binks remarked, eyeing the dilapidated buildings with a mix of curiosity and disdain. And it's unbearably hot. I think my tongue is melting. Padme, the handmaiden, explained, the destruction is the result of a war between two Hutt lords, Jabba the Hutt and Ghidorah the Hutt. Jabba emerged victorious, destroying Ghidorah's palace here in Mos Espa, but Ghidorah has eluded capture. Qui-Gon looked at her, impressed. You're quite knowledgeable for a handmaiden. Tatooine isn't far from Naboo, so it's not surprising I'm aware of these events, Padme replied with a smile. Qui-Gon suggested, I see many people selling spacecraft wreckage. Let's try our luck in the junkyards. Perhaps we can find the hyperdrive we need. Approaching a local with a stern face, Qui-Gon waved his hand gently and asked, Can you tell me where the largest market is? Under the influence of the Force, the local's expression softened, and he pointed in a direction, saying, Over there. You'll find many scavengers and merchants selling what they've collected, along with a fair amount of junk. Thanking the man, Qui-Gon led the group towards the indicated market. The market was bustling with scavengers in tattered clothing, including many children who, due to their small size, could navigate tight spaces to find valuable scraps. Despite the chaotic environment, a semblance of order was maintained by mercenaries hired by the merchants. However, their search for a Nubia T-14 hyperdrive proved fruitless. The scarcity of such parts could be traced back to the former king of Naboo, Als Varuna, who had exclusive dealings with the Nubia Interstellar Drive Company, a manufacturer of high-end spacecraft components, making the likelihood of finding their hyperdrive in a junkyard slim. As they continued their search, a young boy accompanied by a rugged-looking droid noticed them. He glanced at Qui-Gon before his gaze settled on Padme, and he approached them curiously. Are you from outside? He asked. Qui-Gon knelt to be at eye level with the boy and replied with a kind smile. Yes, we are. How did you know? What's your name? My name is Anakin. I live in a junkyard outside the city. Is this lady an angel? I was told only angels are as beautiful as she is, so you must be from far away, Anakin said earnestly. Padme laughed softly at the boy's innocent comment. We are from far away, but I'm not an angel. Our spaceship is broken, and we need parts to fix it, or we'll be stranded here. What parts do you need? Anakin inquired. A Nubia T-14 hyperdrive, Qui-Gon answered. Anakin pondered for a moment before responding. You won't find that model here, but I might know a way to help. Why don't you come with me to my home? Oh, and this is my friend, the droid R2-D2. He's been protecting me. Anakin's offer was unexpected, but Qui-Gon sensed something special about the boy. Despite the usual caution against involving strangers, the urgency of their situation and the potential in Anakin's eyes prompted Qui-Gon to consider the boy's proposal. In our house, it's not safe, said Johnson, the T-850 robot. Qui-Gon Jinn nodded in understanding and replied, Don't worry, we're not here to cause any trouble. We'll leave as soon as we can repair our ship. We're willing to pay for the assistance as well. How much money do you have? Johnson inquired. We have about 20,000 Republic credits, Qui-Gon Jinn answered. Republic credits are not accepted on Tatooine. You'll need to use Upi-Up coins, which are issued by the Hutts, Johnson explained. Okay, Johnson, they need our help, and we can provide it. They're not bad people, I can sense that, Anakin interjected. Johnson didn't respond further. He simply turned and led the way out of the city. Qui-Gon Jinn watched Johnson's retreating figure and murmured to himself, Despite its many modifications, it's clear that it's a bodyguard robot from the fourth group. What could this mean? Master Qui-Gon, that little boy, Anakin, I don't believe he's a bad person. He's very sweet, and I find him quite endearing. Maid Padme approached Qui-Gon Jinn and shared her thoughts. The Force has indeed revealed his kind nature to me. Let's proceed with caution, Qui-Gon Jinn said, pulling his hood up to cover his face again, and followed Johnson and Anakin out of the city. Upon arriving at Anakin's home, Qui-Gon Jinn couldn't help but notice Johnson effortlessly lifting a boulder door that weighed a ton or two. I live here with my mother. We also have a protocol droid, C-3PO, that I'm currently repairing. Unfortunately, my mother has mobility issues and has been confined to bed. I've been planning to build her an anti-gravity wheelchair, but I haven't been able to get the parts I need since the garbage merchant Cherucci has been away. Anakin enthusiastically introduced his family and then pointed to his room. We don't have a Nubia T-14 hyperdrive engine here, but I did find a Nubia T-12 hyperdrive from a crashed ship that could be used on your ship. However, it's broken, and I've been lacking the parts to fix it. Maid Padme, intrigued, noticed two sets of machinery at the base of a wall and asked, What are these? They're pod racers. My mom used to take me to the Bonta Eve pod race when things were better. My dream was to become a racer, but then the war broke out and the races were canceled, Anakin said, his voice tinged with loneliness as he caressed the dusty pod racer, his eyes shimmering with hope. Maid Padme, moved by the young boy's pure gaze, took Anakin's rough hand in hers and said earnestly, You will drive this pod racer and soar across the fields. I'm sure of it. Thank you, miss. You're truly kind and beautiful, just like the angels from the legends, Anakin replied, his smile innocent yet filled with resolve. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon Jinn observed Anakin with a thoughtful expression, pondering the boy's potential and the path that lay ahead of him. Vol 2, Chapter 3 and 57, The Chosen Son. For the next 2 days, Qui-Gon Jinn and his companions made their temporary home in Anakin's modest dwelling. During this time, Anakin embarked on the challenging task of attempting to repair the Nubia T-12 hyperspace engine he had previously salvaged. I'm sorry, Mr. Qui-Gon, but I don't think I can fix this engine. It's beyond repair with too many damaged parts, Anakin admitted with a hint of disappointment as they gathered for dinner. It's all right, Annie. You've already done so much to assist us, Padme reassured him with a gentle smile, softly running her fingers through his hair. We'll explore other options tomorrow. Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mother, who despite being in her early 30s, bore the weathered appearance of someone a decade older, looked on with affection and concern. If Annie can't find the parts here, it's unlikely that scavengers elsewhere will have anything better. Annie has a knack for finding the best scraps. Qui-Gon, intrigued, turned to Anakin. You have a talent for finding the best pieces, don't you? Yes, sir. I seem to have a sense for where the more intact wreckage can be found, Anakin responded earnestly. With Johnson's help, we've managed to salvage some really good finds. For instance, I found a terminal chip that I used to activate C-3PO, though it's still a bit cumbersome to move. I plan to work on its leg structure tomorrow. Padme's eyes lit up with interest. C-3PO is a robot you repaired yourself, and Johnson helped? Johnson's case was a bit different since only his lower body was damaged. I fitted him with 4 new legs. But yes, C-3PO was a joint effort between Johnson and me, Anakin explained. My navigator, R2-D2, seems to have taken a liking to C-3PO, Padme mentioned. If possible, I'd like to take a look at the engines on your ship. Maybe I can merge parts from both engines to make a repair, Anakin proposed. That sounds like a viable plan, Qui-Gon agreed, nodding in approval. Later that evening, Qui-Gon stood alone on the balcony, deep in thought. He had sent a blood sample he collected from Anakin earlier that day to Obi-Wan Kenobi, who remained on their spacecraft. Help me analyze this blood sample, Obi-Wan. I believe we've discovered an extraordinary boy. The midi-chlorian count in his body is astonishing. After a moment of silence, Obi-Wan's voice came through with a mixture of shock and awe. Master, if our instruments are accurate, the midi-chlorian count in the sample you sent exceeds 20,000. That's beyond the limits of our measurement capabilities. Qui-Gon's expression grew more serious. Perhaps we're onto something truly significant. Master Yoda once said that a midi-chlorian count exceeding 10,000 indicates a rare genius, over 15,000, and one is considered to be a vessel of the Force itself. But over 20,000. I'm at a loss for words. What could this mean for us? I'm uncertain myself, Qui-Gon admitted, shaking his head. As footsteps approached, Qui-Gon ended the communication and turned to see Johnson approaching. What brings you here, Johnson? Anakin rescued me from the ruins. Without him, I might have been discarded and melted down like scrap metal, Johnson shared, his voice tinged with gratitude. Even though half of my database has been destroyed, I know my primary mission is to protect him, above all else. Qui-Gon nodded, impressed. You're quite an advanced robot, with a sophisticated emotional system. Anakin is fortunate to have a friend like you. I'm not sure of my origins, but 7 days ago, a mercenary from Titan Security claimed I was their property and attempted to take me away. I couldn't allow that. I can't leave Anakin, Johnson recounted. Since then, mercenaries from outside Titan Security have been patrolling the area. That's why I've added an extra helmet to conceal my original features, Johnson explained, his red electronic eyes scanning Qui-Gon's face intently. But when we first met, you mentioned that I served as the bodyguard robot for the Fourth Group, and my sensors could detect even your faintest whispers. Do you know of my past? Qui-Gon Jinn gazed towards the heavens, reminiscing about the time when the Fourth Colonial Group was besieged by 3 bounty hunter spacecraft. They were in dire straits, with no choice but to seek his assistance. With a wry smile, he remarked, The Fourth Group, I wouldn't say it's something to be proud of. Are they criminals? Someone asked. No, they're not criminals, but they are quite aggressive. However, that's irrelevant to you, Qui-Gon Jinn replied, turning to face Johnson. What matters now is the path you choose for yourself. I think I understand what you're saying, Johnson said, nodding. When the ship is fixed, I'd like to take Anakin with me, Qui-Gon mentioned. Anakin has taken a liking to you all. As long as he's willing, I have no objections. He deserves a chance to escape this desolation for a better life, Johnson agreed. I was hoping you and C-3PO could stay here to look after his mother. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to ensure her safety, and moving her could potentially put her in harm's way, Qui-Gon explained. Why is that? Johnson inquired. Have you ever heard of the Jedi Knights? Qui-Gon asked abruptly. Yes, there are many stories about them, both good and bad. But Anakin believes the Jedi Knights are the galaxy's guardians, unbeatable warriors who vanquish evil and uphold justice, Johnson replied. I am a Jedi, and Anakin has the potential to become one as well, Qui-Gon revealed. Should I feel honored? Johnson asked. It's more of a responsibility. Jedi Knights must avoid forming deep emotional attachments as they can lead to fear and subsequently the dark side. If Anakin chooses the path of a Jedi, he must distance himself from his family, Qui-Gon explained. I will respect Anakin's wishes. If he decides to become a Jedi, I, along with C-3PO, will take care of his mother. As for the Fourth Group, it no longer concerns me, Johnson stated. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic, Darth Sidious knelt on one knee, speaking to the holographic projection of Darth Plagueis through the communicator. "We have located the Queen of Naboo. She is on planet Tatooine, under the protection of 2 Jedi Knights. Ordinary forces won't be enough to capture her," Sidious reported. "Eliminate the Jedi Knights and bring the Queen of Naboo back to sign the treaty," Darth Plagueis commanded coldly. "I will dispatch my apprentice, Darth Maul. I trust his performance will meet your expectations. However, this will undoubtedly reveal the existence of the Sith to the Jedi Order," Sidious cautioned. "Let them discover us. The time has come for us to make our presence known. The fear the Jedi Order feels towards us is precisely what we aim to achieve." "Excellent," Plagueis laughed menacingly. Vol 2, Chapter 358, The Coruscant Incident. Darth Sidious watched as the shadow of Darth Maul's spaceship gradually diminished, a cold smile playing on his lips. "Raising soldiers for 1,000 days to use them at the right moment," he mused. Darth Maul was like a finely honed blade, ready to strike swiftly and lethally. Whatever happened afterward was of no concern to the blade itself. Under Darth Sidious's rigorous training and suppression, Darth Maul's heart had become a cauldron of rage and tyranny, his only satisfaction found in the blood of the Jedi. His thirst for blood and carnage was unquenchable. Though Darth Maul's talents might not match those of the 4 existing Siths, Sidious, Plagueis, and Malthael, his capacity for rage and slaughter was unparalleled. Now his anger and fury would be unleashed upon the 2 Jedi Knights on Tatooine. And this was merely the beginning. Tang Xiao stood on the hotel balcony, gazing into the distant sky. The rapid succession of events unfolding before him felt surreal, reminiscent of scenes from movies, animations, and documents he had encountered in his previous life. Yet now, these events were unfolding in reality, unstoppable in their progression. Despite his efforts to alter the course of these events, many had inevitably come to pass. Xiao Guanghua had messaged him the previous day, reporting that he had followed the Trade Federation's droid army to Naboo and had successfully occupied the capital. He expressed his anticipation of the day he would lead his forces into the enemy's stronghold on behalf of the Fourth Civilization. However, Xiao Guanghua also relayed that the Trade Federation had captured Queen Amidala of Naboo, only for her to be rescued within 2 hours by 2 Jedi Knights, accompanied by an elusive Gungan. Tang Xiao recognized that the narrative was advancing according to the established plot. Perhaps Anakin Skywalker was still alive, concealed somewhere on Tatooine, destined to reunite with Qui-Gon Jinn and the others through the will of the Force, aiding them in repairing their spaceship. Although the Banta Eve Podrace had been discontinued for nearly 2 years, the Chosen One would invariably find alternative means to acquire the necessary parts. Thus, the final confrontation was drawing near. Regrettably, Tang Xiao sighed. The first Jedi he had encountered, Master Qui-Gon Jinn, a figure of respect, would not cross paths with him again. Bound to Coruscant, awaiting the pivotal moment of Darth Plagueis' demise and the liberation of the Fourth Civilization, he could not intervene in the events unfolding on Naboo, including the tragic fate of Master Qui-Gon Jinn. "I would have cherished a face-to-face conversation over a cup of Dawn Planet's specialty black tea with you," Tang Xiao lamented, before instructing Xiao Guanghua to withdraw immediately. As anticipated, the situation spiraled out of control, aligning with the original storyline. Senator Palpatine had initially believed Queen Amidala, a mere 14-year-old, to be an innocent and endearing young girl, which influenced his support for her ascension to the throne. However, Palpatine, usually astute in his judgments, had misread the situation. Queen Amidala was far from innocent or naive. She had boldly escaped the Trade Federation's grasp alongside the Jedi Knights. Moreover, after a detour to Tatooine, she had audaciously made her way to Coruscant, the heart of the Republic. Senator Palpatine found himself in a precarious position, forced to welcome Queen Amidala. Given the critical state of Naboo, Chancellor Finis Valorum also personally greeted her upon her arrival at the spaceport. However, Chancellor Valorum, filled with concerns, he briefly conversed with the Queen before departing. However, Senator Palpatine's gaze lingered on the young, brown-haired boy standing beside Master Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin Skywalker. Anakin, feeling the weight of Palpatine's stare, awkwardly lowered his head. Yet, Senator Palpatine was not one to be easily flustered by unforeseen circumstances. He had been meticulously planning for this moment for an extensive period, and the Queen of Naboo's stance would not deter his plans. Expressing frustration over the Parliament's inaction against the Trade Federation's invasion, Palpatine began to lament the corruption within Coruscant's bureaucracy and the inefficiency of the Parliament. He then presented his ultimate solution. With all due respect, Your Majesty, currently, only the Republic Congress and the Supreme Court have the authority to halt the Trade Federation's invasion. However, both options, he paused, shaking his head, would consume too much time. The people of Naboo are suffering from starvation. We cannot afford to waste time with the Parliament and the Court. The Trade Federation's invasion must be stopped immediately, Queen Amidala exclaimed. In that case, there remains only one solution, Palpatine said, casting a glance at the Queen. A vote of no confidence against the current Chancellor, Finis Valorum, leading to his impeachment. A new, decisive Chancellor could resolve the Nam Naboo crisis as their first act in the Galactic Senate. Finis Valorum has been a loyal ally to Naboo, the Queen countered. Senator Palpatine, you're suggesting that Naboo betray a friend. It's the last and only option, Palpatine replied with a shrug. Unbeknownst to Queen Amidala, as she and Senator Palpatine deliberated over Naboo's future, another sinister figure was observing them closely. Known as Darth Plagueis or Black Godamask II, he was closely monitoring the situation. After his meeting with the Queen, Darth Sidious, also known as Senator Palpatine, hurried to Darth Plagueis' residence. His demeanor was grave as he reported, "Your Highness, I've seen the boy. The child from Tatooine, he is the chosen one, without a doubt." Darth Plagueis interjected solemnly. "How old is he?" "About 10 years old," Sidious answered. 10 years old, Darth Plagueis exclaimed, his fists clenched in anticipation. The furniture around him trembled under the force of his powerful aura. "Of course, I remember what happened 10 years ago." Plucker. Chapter 359, The Fear of Plagueis. 10 years ago, on the planet Sojourn, Darth Plagueis' secret laboratory housed a scene of dark ambition. Plagueis and his apprentice, Darth Sidious, stood beside a miniature Bacta tank. However, this was no ordinary Bacta fluid within. It was a concoction almost entirely made of fibrils, a special fluid that Plagueis had painstakingly developed. To create just 1,000 milliliters of this unique fibrin fluid, Plagueis and Sidious had secretly slain hundreds of Force-sensitive individuals. Hidden from the naked eye, within this Bacta tank, floated a single human ovum. "The final step, Sidious, the final step. The fools of the Jedi Order fret over the prophecy of the Chosen One, but what good does that do them? The Chosen One should be mine. My theory is correct. Life can indeed be created through the Force. But I aim not to create just any life, but a being entirely composed of the Force itself. And it will be the chosen child." Plagueis exclaimed with a manic fervor. "Once you create the Chosen One, its body, and indeed the entire galaxy, will be yours to command, my lord," Darth Sidious replied, bowing his head in reverence. "Let's begin. Follow the procedure I've outlined. Channel the Force into this Bacta tank, slowly but with certainty. Then, the embryo of the chosen son will start to form. Let's proceed." "This ovum cannot survive in the fibrin fluid for too long," Plagueis instructed. After his command, Plagueis unleashed a bolt of Force lightning at the Bacta tank. Darth Sidious followed suit, directing a powerful surge of lightning into the tank. Special devices attached to the tank absorbed the lightning and funneled it into the ovum. The intense energy caused the fibrinogen fluid to bubble vigorously, yet the bubbles mysteriously formed and vanished into thin air, giving the fluid an eerie appearance. "Yes, that's it! It's happening! It's happening!" Plagueis exclaimed, witnessing a small human embryo beginning to grow within the Bacta tank, his heart racing with excitement. However, just as the embryo was on the verge of fully forming, the Bacta tank exploded without warning. The laboratory was showered with shards of glass and fibril fluid, and Plagueis and Sidious hastily used the Force to shield themselves from the debris. Upon inspecting the wreckage, they found the unformed embryo on the ground, resembling nothing more than a small piece of decayed flesh. Clearly, no life could emerge from such a remnant. Surveying the chaotic aftermath of their experiment, Plagueis' face contorted with frustration. The experiment from 10 years ago, Plagueis muttered, his face still twitching as fear began to swell within him, threatening to engulf his entire being. 10 years ago, we sought to create a life purely from the Force, the Chosen One. We aimed to seize control of the prophecy and bring forth the chosen son of balance, Darth Sidious added, his voice laced with apprehension. But that experiment was a clear failure, Plagueis exclaimed. Indeed, it failed. Yet the Chosen One emerged at that exact time, not a year earlier, nor a year later. Why? Plagueis was tormented by a foreboding sense in the Force, which only deepened his unease. Perhaps, did the experiment somehow succeed? Sidious ventured cautiously. No, success is success, and failure is failure. There's no in-between, Plagueis retorted angrily. That child was discovered by Qui-Gon Jinn, and the Jedi Order must have recognized his potential. But it's inconceivable for Qui-Gon to introduce such a 10-year-old child into the Jedi Order. 10 years old is far too old for a Jedi apprentice. We must eliminate Qui-Gon Jinn. Let Darth Maul handle it. Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice must die. As you command, my lord, Darth Sidious replied, before retreating from Plagueis' presence. Plagueis was left alone, his chest heaving with emotion. It had been a long time since he had felt such turmoil. It seemed precisely 10 years. 10 years since that fateful experiment failed. Sidious might not have perceived it, but Plagueis was acutely aware of the significance of their failure. Plagueis was consumed by a profound realization, grappling with the weight of his actions. I attempted the impossible, to forge a chosen one as if I were a mere mortal trying to craft a deity. Such hubris. Is this the Force's retribution? I defied the natural order, and in response, the Force conceived the chosen son, a being destined to be my undoing. Yet, perhaps it's not me, but the Sith as a whole that the Force seeks to eradicate, he mused, his voice barely above a whisper. With a heavy heart, Plagueis accepted the inevitable. I may have brought you into this world, but destroying you is beyond my power. Instead, I shall mold you into the most formidable Sith the galaxy has ever witnessed. You will serve me, he declared with newfound determination. Adorning himself in his exquisite attire, Plagueis emerged as Black Go-Damask II and made his way to the residence of the Queen of Planet Naboo. The guards stationed at the entrance saluted and opened the doors upon his command. "Let me in," he demanded, and they complied without hesitation. "What are you doing here?" a maid questioned, alarmed. "Her Majesty has expressly forbidden entry to." "I need to see the boy," Plagueis interrupted, raising his hand to silence her. "Sir, Anakin Skywalker was here only to bid farewell. He mentioned that the Jedi Order has summoned him," the maid informed him, her voice tinged with honesty. Suppressing the surge of anger within him, Plagueis waved his hand dismissively. "Forget that anyone was here," he commanded, before turning to leave. The guards and the maid momentarily paused, their minds clouded, before resuming their duties as if the encounter had never occurred. Is this mere coincidence, or is it a destiny forged by the Force? Plagueis pondered from a distance, his facial muscles twitching involuntarily. After a moment of contemplation, he retreated, knowing better than to confront the Jedi Order directly. The matter would have to wait. The following day, in the Galactic Republic Parliament building, a special session was convened by Speaker Finis Valorum in light of the Queen of Planet Naboo's visit. The assembly was called to address the contentious issue surrounding Naboo. "Let us now hear from the representatives of Planet Naboo," announced Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum. Senator Palpatine, with a nod from Queen Amidala, maneuvered his anti-gravity platform to the center of the chamber. His voice resonated through the hall. Just a month ago, a tragedy unfolded. The Republic's Congress imposed taxation on the free trade zones of the Outer Rim, leading to the Trade Federation's oppression of Naboo. Countless lives have been lost to starvation and violence. At these words, Finis Valorum's gaze shot towards Senator Palpatine, a mix of shock and betrayal evident in his eyes. Palpatine's statement was a dagger to his back, a direct assault on his leadership, and a critical blow to his authority. End of chapter. The Galactic Council's Dispute. Vol. 2, Chapter 360. The Speaker Steps Down. Senator Schiff Palpatine's declaration was a clear betrayal of Speaker Finis Valorum. However, the assembly seemed indifferent to Valorum's feelings. The underlying reasons for Palpatine's actions were of little concern to them. After all, wasn't Valorum already burdened with numerous accusations? The specifics hardly mattered. During the session, the trade union's representative, Lot Dodd, vehemently denied any wrongdoing on their part. There has been no invasion. All actions taken by the trade union are within legal bounds, he proclaimed, floating over on an anti-gravity platform. Speaker Valorum, visibly irritated by the interruption, retorted, "The trade union has not been granted permission to speak yet." Ignoring Valorum's admonition, Senator Palpatine proceeded, "Let us now hear from the newly crowned Queen of Naboo, Queen Amidala." Rising to her feet, Queen Amidala addressed the assembly. "Honorable members of the Republic, it is with great sorrow that I report the brutal invasion of Naboo by the trade union's robot legion. This is preposterous. Such an event has never occurred. You are fabricating lies." Lot Dodd interjected, blatantly disregarding Speaker Valorum's earlier command for silence. "The trade union demands that an investigative team be dispatched to thoroughly examine these claims." The suggestion to send an investigative team was a stalling tactic, a way to muddle the waters further. After all, the trade union was not short on financial resources to handle any repercussions that might arise from such an investigation. Senator Ain Latim from Marathon Planet voiced his support for the trade union's request. Marathon Planet concurs with the trade union's stance and calls for an investigative team to be sent to Naboo. Valorum was taken aback by Tim's support, especially considering that Marathon had faced a blockade by the Enterprise Alliance 2 years prior. It seemed illogical for them to align with Naboo's oppressors unless it indicated a deeper issue within the Republic itself. Francis Underwood, representing Dawn Planet, also endorsed the motion. His perpetual smile and a knowing glance exchanged with Counselor Tim hinted at a shared understanding of the Republic's deteriorating state. Speaker Valorum, overwhelmed by the complexities of his role and the myriad issues demanding his attention, failed to perceive the growing rift within the Republic. His era was drawing to a close. As the Assembly leaned towards dispatching an investigative team, Valorum attempted to interject, but Deputy Speaker Mas Amida whispered something that visibly shook him. Taking a moment to compose himself, Valorum announced, "The proposal is accepted. Queen Amidala, do you consent to the Republic sending an investigative committee to Naboo?" Queen Amidala's response was impassioned. "I do not agree. I risked my life to come here, seeking the Republic's aid to halt this invasion. My people suffer from starvation, and countless civilians perish from hunger and cold. And yet, here we are, debating the existence of this invasion." "We aim to assist Naboo," Valorum attempted to reassure her. "Then halt the trade union's aggression and force their withdrawal immediately," Amidala demanded. Her gaze fixed on a speechless Valorum, she declared. "If the Speaker is incapable of fulfilling his duties, I urge the Republic Assembly to elect a new leader, one who can genuinely assist us." Surveying the Assembly, she continued, "As a representative of a planet victimized by war, I formally propose a vote of no confidence in Speaker Finis Valorum and initiate the impeachment process." At that moment, Valorum's complexion turned ashen. He slumped into his chair, utterly defeated. The clamor of the Parliament Hall seemed to swirl around him like a vortex, leaving him feeling hollow inside. The end of his tenure, which began in 44 BBY, had finally arrived. Over the course of 12 tumultuous years, he had borne witness to the Republic's most corrupt and darkest epochs. Despite his valiant efforts to reverse the tide, the engulfing darkness proved too formidable. Now, with Naboo, a casualty of war, poised to submit a vote of no confidence, his political demise seemed imminent. Within a mere 2 or 3 days following the vote, he would likely be compelled to exit the political stage, given the current parliamentary climate that rendered a majority vote in his favor virtually unattainable. "I've made my decision. I will sign the Clone Army Agreement," Jedi Master Cypher Dyas declared to Master Dooku within the confines of a Coruscant mansion. Adorning Master Dooku's chest was a small white flower, a symbol of mourning for his recently deceased elder brother, the Earl of Seleno. "What led you to this resolution, my friend, Master Dyas?" inquired Master Dooku, his voice deep and resonant. "The situation on planet Naboo. The Republic's inability to counter this invasion has led to the commencement of impeachment proceedings against Speaker Valorum today. His departure is inevitable. The Republic's future direction is uncertain, but I am compelled to act in whatever capacity I can to secure its future, Sev Diaz explained. You shared a close bond with Chancellor Valorum, and I understand your sorrow. However, looking forward, a new chancellor might herald a brighter future for the Republic. And as for Naboo, Master Qui-Gon Jinn is there. He is my most esteemed apprentice, and I have every confidence in his ability to resolve this crisis, Master Dooku reassured. Cypher Dyas nodded in agreement. I hope so. After parting ways with Master Dooku, Cypher Dyas communicated his decision to Hago Damask II and Rama Su. He planned to journey to planet Kamino under the guise of the Jedi Order to finalize the contract. However, just as he was about to board his shuttle, he received an unexpected communication from Phoenix Valorum. With a frown, Dyas accepted the call. Master Dyas, regrettably, the vote of no confidence against me has surpassed 70%. By this time tomorrow, I will no longer serve as the Speaker of the Republic Assembly, Valorum disclosed. I'm sorry to hear that, Your Excellency, Dyas responded. For 20 years, we stood shoulder to shoulder, long before I became Chancellor. Now, at the Republic's most perilous juncture, you must forge ahead on your own, Valorum sighed. Yet, even in my final moments as Speaker, I am determined to contribute to the Republic's welfare. You've mentioned your efforts over the past 2 years to combat the underworld's influence. Despite losing control over corporate and political magnates, you still wielded enough power to challenge these criminals and smugglers, Valorum said with a bitter smile. The latest intelligence I've received involves a group of pikes smuggling spice on planet Felucia. I trust you'll investigate and apprehend them. Consider it done, Your Excellency. This is my area of expertise, Master Dyas assured. Ah, but I'm no longer the Speaker, Valorum chuckled. I will pursue this gang of pikes. Our efforts will not be in vain. The Galactic Republic is destined for a brighter future. Dyas affirmed with conviction. Hearing this, Phineas Valorum expressed his relief. The candidates to succeed me as Speaker include Bel Antares of Alderaan and Enlil T of Malastare. There's also Shiv Palpatine of Mu and Naboo. Although I've had little contact with Palpatine recently, I trust in his capabilities. Despite his betrayal, he has my vote. Here's to a better Republic. Vol 2, Chapter 361, Death of the Dark Lord, Part 1. The impeachment of Finis Valorum, the Speaker of the Galactic Parliament, marked a significant turning point in the politics of the Galactic Republic. With a staggering 80% of the vote expressing no confidence, Valorum's political career was effectively over. His resignation set the stage for a fierce campaign among 3 candidates vying to become the new Speaker. Shiv Palpatine from the planet Naboo, Bel Antilles from Alderaan, and Enlil Tim from Malastare. Bel Antilles, known for his radical reformist views, posed a threat to the interests of the super-oligarchs, including those from Planet Quarter, making his candidacy a long shot. Enlil Tim of Maratha, however, emerged as the frontrunner. Backed by the influential Circular faction, which held a significant number of seats in the Outer Ring star regions, Tim seemed poised to secure the majority vote. This was not an unprecedented scenario. Parliamentarians from smaller planets had ascended to the speakership before. Aun Frita, a leading figure of the Circular faction from the planet Rhinos, even declared Tim's victory as a foregone conclusion. However, Shiv Palpatine was confident in his own victory. Under his subtle manipulation, the political landscape had shifted. The super enterprises and trade unions, having grown increasingly powerful and dismissive of the Republic's authority, sought a strong government that would prioritize their interests over democratic ideals. The notion of sharing wealth and benefits with the poorer, weaker planets of the Outer Ring was laughable to them. Palpatine had already secured the support of these influential groups, ensuring that the Circular faction stood no chance against the might of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations. Palpatine subtly hinted to Queen Amidala that he still held some advantages, notably the sympathy votes garnered from the invasion of Naboo. Impatient for the election of a new speaker and against Palpatine's advice, Amidala decided to return to Naboo. The Jedi Order assigned Master Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi to protect her. Despite Master Yoda and Master Windu's reservations about Anakin Skywalker, Qui-Gon took the boy with them to Naboo. Unbeknownst to them, a sinister figure observed their departure from the shadows of Coruscant. Darth Plagueis watched the young Anakin with a gaze that seemed to transcend galaxies and epochs, aligning with a vision of the future. His long-dormant precognitive abilities had reawakened, revealing a glimpse of a dark figure in black armor standing behind Anakin, exuding malevolence and power. Darth Plagueis chuckled to himself, "You belong to the dark side, the chosen one. I wonder, who will lead you into the darkness? But of course, who else could it be but me? Heh. Tonight, the Sith will once again be ruled by two, and soon it will be my stage alone, a stage for a single Sith Lord." He couldn't discern who would mentor the future Anakin, and soon his vision blurred into shadows once more, a common occurrence. Yet he departed with a sense of satisfaction. Plagueis, feeling a rare surge of consideration for Darth Marthael's feelings, sent him a message instructing him to wait near his mansion, Tardani Spire, that evening. He emphasized that Marthael was not to enter without being summoned, and concluded the message with a promise: the supreme power will be shared between us. Unbeknownst to Plagueis, Darth Marthael, stationed less than a kilometer from Plagueis' location, coldly shut off his communicator. Speaking as if to an unseen companion, he mused, "Is everything in place?" "Indeed, I've reactivated the dormant Primarch within him, precisely when he was on the balcony, basking in his own amusement," replied the spectral presence of Darth Tenebrous with a hint of sarcasm. Plagueis, despite his formidable command of the dark side, unparalleled in history, is doomed to fall from grace. And you, Darth Marthael, how long do you believe you'll last on this stage? "The duration of my essence is uncertain, but I am keenly aware of how fleeting yours will be," Marthael retorted with a sneer. That night, the once prominent figure in both business and politics, Black Go-Damask II, made a dramatic return to the public eye. He was seen in the company of Shif Par, a representative from the planet Naboo and a contender for the position of Speaker. Their public appearance together was a clear endorsement of Palpatine, signaling a significant shift in the Interstellar Banking Association's allegiance towards Palpatine. Surrounded by a throng of reporters, the duo's bodyguards cleared a path for them towards the Galaxy Theater, where a dance troupe from Mon Calamari was set to perform their latest, emotionally charged dances and songs. The exorbitant ticket prices ensured an audience comprised solely of the elite. Following the performance, the party moved to Hago's mansion, Tardani Spire, where the revelry continued. Over drinks, Palpatine and Plagueis engaged in deep conversation about the galaxy's political future. Palpatine, with a flair for the dramatic, stood on the table and performed an exaggerated rendition of the speech he planned to deliver in Parliament the following day. His antics amused Plagueis greatly, leading to an evening filled with laughter and copious amounts of wine. However, amidst the merriment, a fleeting coldness passed between them, betraying their true intentions. "This galaxy has no place for you, Sidious," thought Plagueis. "The Milky Way is destined to be mine, master." Palpatine silently countered. "The old order will be replaced, and in the new order, I will be the one pulling the strings," they both silently vowed. Outside, the night's cold wind swept around the building, where a figure cloaked in black stood atop the tower, silently observing the farcical scene below. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Anakin, Shadow of Darkness.